there, welcome here to the B stream, back in action, other words that begin with Bah. I'm Flick, this is Hap. We're about to have NIP versus Fury.
It's going to be a very exciting game to come up. Fury, who might have surprised many by being able to make it out of the groups, and even that top part of the bracket, the upper bracket, not having to go right down to the lower, having that extra life is going to be so valuable for them. And NIP, at the other hand, you know, they struggled a little bit getting into the tournament, but they managed to find themselves the important wins in the end, which landed them in the spot they're currently in.
Now, as you can see, we've had the first two games of the day resolve, and two very exciting series, 2-1. So, thankfully, my words, I think we're going to be in for a very, very long day. As you can see, the teams versus on the bottom of the graphic will slowly fill in and filter based on the losses and the wins. At the top of the bracket here, we are about to have the two streams, the Liquid versus Dark Zero game, and then here, Fury versus NIP, which will decide who faces SSG and VP, Virtus Pro, in the other games later on today, and then who will be battling tomorrow to survive.
Yeah, that is going to be it. One of these two teams is going to be losing their extra life, which means that tomorrow everything is going to be on the line for them. So there's a lot at stake. It's not yet the do or die moment that teams often do experience, but it is getting, you know, real right now. It's not the groups where you have 4 matchups, you can afford to lose 1 or 2 to get through. You can only afford to lose 1 right now. And, well, both of these teams, they preferably want to be making sure that's as late as possible in the tournament.
Ninjas in Pyjamas. NIP is our first roster on the board, and, well, with some hammerlifters amongst them, and unfortunately not quite here at the last SI, they've been trying to rebuild, rebattle. They had a couple of performances throughout the year at Majors where it wasn't quite as strong as their country folk, as the sort of same teams that have come across here. They started a bit slow, they lost the first 2 games, and then pulled it back towards the end in, I guess, an unexpected sentence of they were playing to escape groups.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they lost against Dark Zero and G2, two like household names that everybody, you know, expected them to at least put up a fight against. You need to be able to put up a fight against them. It's not like they got completely annihilated. It was like 7-4, 7-2 against G2. That one was very one-sided to that extent, but the Dark Zero game was a bit closer with a 7-5, 7-4. After that, though, they were facing FairX and GK. They were expected to win those games. Like, you're coming in, it's like you need to win against these two teams, otherwise you are going home.
And in the GK series, they lost the first map. They found themselves pushed all the way to OT, 6-8, and then they sort of pulled it back, 7-3, 7-1. And that's the sort of expectation that we have of these teams, is you don't sort of want to see these ones that you know can play super well and super intense at these tournaments building up. And talking of building up, Fury have been smashing other rosters down. They get themselves 2nd seed in their group against the sort of grain. The only team they lost to was Sonics, taking Falcons, Scars, and loss.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, Lowe's putting up a great fight just now as well. Fury, again, one of those teams, I just mentioned it, a lot of people would have expected them to be 4th, 5th place in their groups, like trying to fight to stay out of the groups, but managed to find themselves on that 2nd seed with some amazing results eventually coming down. As you just mentioned, only following the Sonics, who have been looking quite good as well as a roster. Definitely one of those top contenders. Same with Flans in their groups, for example. Now, for the map video, we will be headed to Chalet first, afterwards Consulate and Skyscraper. And I find this quite interesting. NIP have managed to find themselves on the defense start for every single one of these maps.
I mean, technically, Fury had a bit of an option in that.
They had the
They
option.
had the side. I don't know what the coin flip was for the 3rd map, because I didn't ask. So, and I didn't check. I didn't check the form.
No,
that's your job.
I totally get it. But
you're the numbers guy.
Again, like, you would expect with a defensive meta that you would choose defense on the map pick where you have the opportunity. However, not the choice that they went with. And so NIP find themselves on the fence at every single start of these matches.
Well, the start here is on to Chalet, and that we've already had a taste of in a banger game earlier on. Fury, they have played this at this tournament so far, played it twice, won it both times, a 7-1 and a 7-5. Very, very well put together takes. Very, very well put together sort of build into their attacking game, which is actually a game that they do very well. I know I'm just sort of repeating the same sentences, but you can see the repetition in their play. Although it is a defender side of meta, although we've had these very hefty sides look at the game versus loss yesterday, where they were able to sort of thread some decent attacks together, find themselves, 2-7-2s across Oregon and Labs. On the other side, NIP haven't played Chalet this tournament as of yet, but it was an option. It wasn't that they were sort of, always moving away from it.
Yeah, and of course we're headed into that part of the tournament now where, of course, everything was super defense-sided, but we're headed to better and better and better teams where hopefully we'll be seeing a bit more of that 50-50 to come through. The Solace is going to be banned. You see a pretty hefty toll on the information game here for the defense. So that is something we will be discussing as it goes through. Ben as well to come in to get with the Dokkaebi. So a lot of information gone, a little bit of area denial will be the name of the game. Kitchen Dining is where we will start off as our very first site. NIP, of course, on that defense. They want to start this off great. Instantly. Put up like 3-4 rounds on the board.
I love the idea of...
They need to make a statement.
I get what you're trying... I get what you're saying, but I love the idea of they want to start this off great, as if there's teams out there like...
It's like,
I want to start this off average.
What about we start off with 0-6 and bring it back from there?
What if we start off and lose? How about that? Yeah. Every team wants to start off great. Hopefully, the hope is you finish great as well. And now, Fury, as you said, the conversation is how can they put the distance in on their attack? Because it's one of those sort of cited statistics. If a meta shifts one way or another and you are good at the other way, as has already been quoted down the broadcast that Doki said, the good teams can still learn how to attack. It sort of doubles down that mentality because if you are going in as a team that has been struggling on your attacks and believing, yeah, everybody is, and you come against a team that has found a couple of plays and a couple of, then that makes it even worse because you're like, uh-oh, this is now going to be like 2 halves of a beating, and every single round gets this very sort of detrimental loss on it if they are able to pull it almost twice as much. Jay, quick in looking for the claw, can't quite see it, a little bit lost, but the drone is close enough that he can probably pick that up again in the meantime.
Now, to bring some extra statistics into this, the 2 times that Fury were playing on the attack, that reinforces your point. 88% of the rounds they played, they managed to win on the attack on Chalet. So definitely something that they are keeping in the back of their minds with these site selections that come through. As a lot of the flashbangs and utility are being tossed in. You saw some Grimbees being shot as well. I9 trying to get some shots in from underneath from the garage, actually dealing loads of damage towards Musi, who's going to be able to rotate out at the very last second. I9 almost able to finish that reload and get some extra shots down, but at least opens up a good opportunity now over the top floors. Has managed to basically clear out Solarium.
I have always loved that sort of buck two-story drive there. We used to see you going to do it quite a lot. It's the pinch, and Dark's going to see if he can get the pinch on the back end, but it's Cons that opens up the head of Crit J. I9 is trying to find a bit of revenge, but obviously you're looking at where the side is and how they're trying to find their way in. Dark is that point of pressure up top. They get just a bit of clarity of space here. Like Colis gets the stop, is able to find himself some safety, doesn't want to get impacted because then he's in absolute no man's land, but they're fully aware of what the play is here. So, PG Man able to keep that control above. They got themselves just that window. I9 with the cover. Love the play. They pull the shield back so they can sort of utilize it and redeploy it elsewhere. Pino has to go for a bit of a wider take back on towards West Main. Now, the vertical take is 2-story. Musi is, at the meantime, making his way across bathroom, looking for the fight here to get the vertical, but it doesn't go his way. So it's just Pino all the way up to the top, locked out. Start how they wanted to start and make it great. That was pretty good.
It was pretty good. That was.
Would you say it was great?
Just great round coming through, and actually for sure. And you know, when they went for the Ossa plan out there, they were vulnerable from the hatch, but just in a safe angle where they couldn't challenge it from the hatch, which would have meant that they needed to open up some extra verticality, but they didn't have the top floor control to do so on the side of NIP because it was held by Fury. So well done by them, as they basically covered every single aspect of it. You might have not seen it when the round was going on, but it was covered off based on where these players were set up. So great start from them, and that leads into the next point. Fury, when they were playing in their regional league, when it was only going to be up to C Stage 2, they managed to get 5 whole plants over the stage. 5 whole plants.
Wow.
In SI so far, they've gotten 12 already, and this is number 13 that we've just seen go down. And that shows you that they have kind of changed their playstyle into a more, well, objective-focused game, rather than playing as many would call a TDM kind of game, where you just go in and try and get as many kills as you can and see if you can lock it off on the back of that. Here it's, let's just see if we can get that diffuser down one way or another without having to take the entire map under our control.
First step is for Fry. Will NIP be the battle back here? Look at me using Triton. Wizard. Now, he is a player who, when he came into this tournament, had the massively outlying statistic of, I think, being, if not the best entry player, but one of the best entry players that has come across all of these games. Hasn't quite been able to match that, and fair enough, what a meta it is, as everybody's trying to step back into the performance that they expected. But the difference between the first 2 games that we've seen played by NIP and the second 2 games, he's someone who's been able to find himself much more in the groove. He's gone from a -3 to a +10 KD. His entry statistic is positive, whereas before it was sort of dancing on the line. It's a statement of how confident NIP have become as the tournament goes on, and it almost reflects in the series. So don't expect, or don't be surprised, if the first couple of rounds go away from them, and then Fury just bites sort of the hand, and NIP hits them with the other one.
Now, one of the players I actually want to see step up on the side of NIP is going to be Psycho. I mean, he hasn't had the greatest Stage 2. He hasn't had the greatest tournament so far. He's been bottom rated for the team during those games. And I think if he's able to step up big, if he's able to just find that next gear into these kind of games, NIP are going to be finding themselves as a more well-rounded team. And they're going to have a better opportunity to find themselves maybe further in the tournament.
They start the break. I love it. I love the play on the verticality here. There's not a huge amount that you can do, but in that corner, in that garage, you suddenly get big sort of sight lines up towards it, and then obviously this cavalcade and canopy. Oh, like Olis, he's got himself a little cheeky peek onto this player. Psycho has no idea. I9 wants the player to be forced, and then a perfect catch. Very, very well made. It got himself in position perfectly. It's taken a lot of time, but now they have that first take and that first swipe. They can see if they can try and make it work. Look at the 2 NIP players on the far side. It's Wizard trying to scrape his way, and Muzi, who's going for a very long roam off the back stairs and potentially underneath. Crit J is the watch halfway through the map, as once again they try to isolate the performance play inside the site. You can see the kit is just hopping in as there it is. The cover comes across. Dark gets one. Pyjamas is watching and waiting as Lycolis gets another. The blinds. Pino can't quite see what engagement he's going to find at the top of the greenery stairs. He's going a little bit wider onto the rafters. Muzi does win out the back fight, but PG Man's going to take this opportunity to plant. Maybe they didn't know where both players were. They're about to find out. Oh no. Hatch is lost and he's a second! Too late, Pino goes for the hop out and doesn't get the kill! No! Struggled to make the decision in the chaos there and finds himself regrettably getting caught off. Muzi, he's going for the swing, but he's shot in the legs. Fury, 2-0.
An unfortunate slip there from the balcony, because I think he was thinking about going back, but like just that step too far. And Fury, they spotted a great opportunity here, Emmy. They saw there's no one playing Library, there's no one on the top of mezzanines out there. Of course, there was the player inside of the basement stairs towards Snowmobile. And those were perfectly baited out as well. I'm not sure if Brava had hacked the camera. Yeah, they had. Okay, so I was just going to say, otherwise it could have been a perfect bait. It's safe to fall back because they couldn't see him. Pino here with the slip. Unfortunate.
I mean, you could see what he was... I don't think he expected the player to be in that position and not know he was going to go for that take.
Yeah.
I don't know how aware... I'm not entirely sure what Fury player is, BG Man, how aware he was of someone above. His timing was that timing that sometimes it works in your favor, and then by the time he sort of swung around and lurked, he just sees a gift landing in his hands. 2 rounds, 2 wins, 2 plants as well. Fury's attention towards the objective is coming out brilliantly right now. They are clearing just what they need. They're more than happy to sort of trust the flank watch, trust the cover, and go, look, they've got 3 players on site. We can cut it off here. We can sneak a plant in and play the retake here. We can play against them. NIP is slow to come into this.
But usually when you see a bar hold, there's a lot of emphasis towards the library, towards the mezzanine. There's none of that right now. And that was perfectly spotted out by Fury as they just put 2 players inside, one in library, one in the mezzanines. What did you do? Just hold back the verticality that's coming back. So perfectly played out by Fury there, read the opportunity that was given to them by NIP and punished them for it. And this is something Alphama told me when we were talking before. He's He told me that Fury is a opportunity-seeking team. If they see an opportunity, they will take it and they'll punish you for giving them that opportunity. In NIP, they've been a bit sloppy here and there. So, like, that really allows for a very dynamic matchup to come through here, where NIP, they leave a little gap in the defense, and Fury, they spot it, and they just push everybody towards it.
Yeah. Playing this Nomad role, he was sort of in that entry statistic and played that game, and in the Sonics game, he lost a bit of confidence. Weirdly, it's a conversation I had via Stokes with I9. I mean, there's one body caught off, and, well, maybe I shouldn't have been talking about him at all, but they sort of said, you know, they didn't have the confidence to go in. They were trying to do too much, and Sam got all American on them, torched them, and he takes credit for coaching a successful return to form. So I guess he'll see if his words ring true here. They did lose the entry. I do lose I9, so maybe I shouldn't have said anything, because those two players I referenced were dead.
Sarcasticers coming through. Of course, I probably thought Muzi getting that first kill. There was bees down there. Probably would have thought it was going to be safe for them to move through and go for the rappel in, but highly misplaced. Muzi finding himself in the perfect opportunity to strike there on the Sam Q that came in. Now it's a 3-on-5 situation. No, one on the windows. Magnet being tossed out just to make sure that any utility tossed in will be caught off. Muzi's holding off on the rappel still, so two of the players of Fury currently do not have a way into the building safely.
They want to try and remove that castle barricade. They're just going to pop underneath it to burn any discs that might be there, but then the players get popped. Jay does somehow find two right in the middle of the site, but he's a little bit isolated, sure. They've got the double window watch, but he can't really slink in. He's unable. Had a bit of the ping, but Wizard was already holding the angle. It's much easier to predict in that position. They know exactly where Lycolis is.
Yeah.
And there's 20 seconds on. So you can assume he's just going to get pieced apart. He's going to rotate around and try and enter onto trophy rather than swing in. Makes sense, but they sort of said, hey, that makes sense. This is what he's going to do. He's going to fire up 10 seconds, probably get a shot in the side of the face or the front. NIP find their first round in the first 3.
Muzi with a huge opening there, though, playing around in the master bedroom, spotting the opportunity to go for the swing as the repelling came to Solarium. I think the Solarium repel might have been a bit prematurely. Wasn't too much information out there. Maybe relied a bit too much on the Grim Beast to come through.
Grim Beast.
Grim Beast. I really like that. I'm not going to step
It's just the two words put together.
Yeah, I know.
But it's a fun word to say.
It's a fun word to say.
Fun word to say.
Just work. Kitchen up next. He's going to be putting us back towards that first round that did go in favor of Fury. That was an OSA plan that went through successfully, due to the fact that there was a lack of verticality that NIP could actually manipulate themselves, as Fury already had someone up in Solarium and could play it that way. So probably what we'll see is a bit more attention towards that top floor now from the side of NIP. Like, they know that it's crucial to hold on to it if you want to stop any plants from going in. But we also see Fury go for a completely different kind of lineup. There's no OSA on the board right now. We do see the Ram coming in, so good opportunity of opening up a lot of verticality on the actual sites here, together with the Buck as well. So this is probably going to be a full-on top take.
Swap off the OSA play. They're going to see if they can try and drive it a little bit more direct. And as he said, top take, you got the Ram, you got the idea of what she can do, which is some of those pockets of verticality. They've played it from underneath pretty well. I'm wondering if they might try and start to catch I9 out in that position where he goes into the garage and goes up. Here is that play, but it doesn't seem like there's a direct response as of yet. Maybe a bit of a watch onto the hatch itself, but they have to have that caution, quick pace towards the work that the Buck can do. We even used to see frag grenade tricks from under here. Take the first floor and then get it up through the bars and the beams all the way to the top. That was a different time, a different era, a different matter. The idea is of the Westmen take covered by Barbs as BG Man accidentally drops his drone.
Oops. That happens. I mean, it's just going to be like 10, 20 seconds that you lose out of it. It could be a difference maker, but it's only a single player that's losing that. It's not the entire team. I feel like all this is also like, that wasn't supposed to happen.
So you can throw it at it. If it lands on it, it will still go through it. That obviously, I mean, it's like we saw one missed drone at a window, and then we see a worse missed drone at a window. The Bees force the player off of the swing as best as they can. They're just going to track Stingers down on towards the stairs itself. Those can obviously be shut out, but it will force some motion, some players into a slightly less comfortable engagement and position. Fury still haven't been able to find a first pick here. They've usually been pretty good at getting that opening body and just pulling them out of place. It seems like NIP are holding themselves a little bit more reserved and also, most importantly, not handing over territory. Remember how the kick went down last time? Really, Fury didn't take a huge amount of ground to get it. Here, Psycho, he pulls back, he's pushing back into the fight, he's making sure they don't have anything cleanly, and they're going to have to take it with force. Crit J gets one, Psycho gets a battle back, but Pino suffers quite a lot and finally gets caught out just from the swing. BG Man upside down on the big double window.
I was calling out before how NIP really needed to have some extra top floor presence, and it's definitely out there now. Psycho finding some amazing kills. Crit J going down as well. Finds NIP in the lead for the remainder of this round. Now I9 is finding himself on the actual site, and I believe so is his teammate BG Man. He's all alone now in a 1v3, and well, the verticality's all out there. Manages to find at least one through it. Knows that the hatch is being contested as well, so he has to make the right decision now. Where are you going to be playing from? He's trying to find himself in a bit of a safer position to actually try and go for the plant, and as he's holding off verticality number 2, he's going to be digging himself right behind the bomb chassis. Oh, the bulletproof has spotted him. It's going to be making things a little bit more difficult.
Baiting the plant at this point. They can try and find him from the angles, but remember there's the hatch. Here it is. Expertly shown by Psycho as something they can drop to. He knows that, well, if he finds his pocket where they can't shoot him, they'll just come down and shoot him. So instead he tucks here on the other side of the soft wall. They're going to spray through. A little bit too high. They'll go around the side. They're able to just get caught. There it is. He punched, and I'm wondering if that was panic.
I don't know. It might have been because they were just shooting at that corner in the wall, and it's like, he's not there. Oh, he is there at that point. But kills did come through in the end for the side of NIP, and they're able to equalize the score, bring it up to a 2-2. It had a bit of a slow start. Fury able to really find those openings and, well, manipulate them into their own ways. And as we're headed towards bar again, now I want to see an actual mezzanine hold coming through from NIP, because if they leave that open again, it's just free real estate for Fury.
Yeah, it's sort of that awkward change of things, obviously, because you talk about wanting to have that hold, but you have to look at where that hold goes.
Yeah.
You would then have to play the hatch sort of open inside the site in case you're going to sort of play that suicide corner in the spot and burn out grenades and utility. That's sort of where that hold comes from, was playing against those grenades, capital bolts, whatever. It is that utility trade game, which has obviously taken a little bit of a change throughout this tournament, but had a lead in just before. As much as you sort of want to say, we can stay here and we can stay here longer, it requires, I think, from my side, a much more structural change for them to be super confident in that style of hold without having to do everything. Whereas NIP like to do this. They stretch themselves towards bedroom. It's just whether Fury opts to play against it as directly as they have or not. There it is. Hatch is open. Plan B, which to me highlights the idea of trying to hold on to the spot a bit more.
I mean, you see a lot more utility being placed around now as well. You see the AFNets, magnets, serial laser gates, all around the actual area.
The suicide
also
spot.
the ADSs indeed. So
it's like all these things I talked about for this hold,
yeah,
and they do it.
I know. They're going to do exactly that.
I know, my job.
And this is the thing. Like, sure, you can get away with not doing it, but you still need someone to be aware of the fact that someone has taken a position, because that's what was lacking the last time. They were just hiding in there, finding people on the rotate, and that's something you cannot really afford. Fury, as they try and find themselves at an opening, it starts off with that beautiful droning phase. So just trying to find out what the actual lay of the land is here, and as the Twitch drone is trying to take out some of the information that is still there. Of course, the defense has been hindered with the Solace gone, the Valkyrie gone.
Whoa.
He takes out a drone.
Love that gun.
Sounds so nice.
I think it's my favorite sounding gun in the whole game. I know that
the ACS also sounds nice.
Yeah. There's some great. The Alder, when it's properly purring. Love it.
But just when you let it rip.
There's something about that. Just beautiful, gorgeous. To a piece. And I sort of said this around the second round was, you might start slow, but NIP can definitely build into a series. Muzi unfortunately removed at the start of here. Dark still in that sort of back and forth battle, as storied as an Odyssey here as he tries to find his way towards the rest of his crew. They at least have one body now. 2 removed. Psycho gone as well. The Wamai and the Tubarau. They will have those gadgets that can otherwise definitely deployed towards the mid and late point of the rounds. Kind of a painful removal here because everything else is sort of a pre-placed. Wizard does find Dark. And then I9 almost finds the end of it, but somehow gets Wizard spraying just through the soft, watching the run and the rotate towards the hatch. Cons is in a very dangerous position because up in his top left, he's about to be under fire here from Crit J. There it is. pinched out, but there was nowhere he could really go. Because if he tried to rotate out, then he's just going to find the fight elsewhere. At least he had a little bit of wood. But 3, 2, 1. He has 50 seconds to try and hold on here from pretty much every single angle. There's some Fenris and gadgetry in his favor. Swings out to find the first fight aggressively. Takes the position. You hear a Flores drone. Pyjamas just clearing some space. They cannot get their way back round safely. Guaranteed themselves 3 for their attack half.
Yeah, Fury playing it very well so far. There was some good team play that we were seeing. Just the angles being shut down from the window and using utility to force people out of their positions right into the crossfires. And NIP unable to really lean back into those fights, always feeling like they're a step behind whenever they're moving. And Fury find themselves with those 3 attacking rounds. Important in how the current meta shifts up. Now, Chile is actually one of the... And by the way, the knowledge there that there was someone at the bottom of the stairs, you saw him kind of juggle between the two. He's like, I need to take this fight on the horizontal level, but I also know I'm about to be flanked from right below. So he hoped that he could balance both, was able to get one before he got shut down, but instantly afterwards he saw the double team play coming out from main door and the mezzanines, shutting down one of those last remaining players. So Fury doing really well so far. And again,
is it a great start?
It's a great start for Fury. No, for sure. I mean, they got 3 rounds. Overall, Chile has been 55% defensive. Of course, that is shifting the further we go in the tournament as people learn how to do attacks, especially if Fury manages to stay inside the tournament because they're a great attacking team. But that is definitely putting themselves in a good position for later on because they have like a 50% defense win rate themselves. So if they manage to get one more, could be map 1 locked.
NIP, they've been able to actually have this as their lockdown side. It was the first that they won with the swing round. Once upon a time, it was everybody's first pick. And then, like a lot of sites in this game on any single map, because you get so much practice attacking it, it starts to get a little bit weaker. It starts to feel a little bit less confident. You can adapt a little bit more freely on other ones. Here, take onto the Fenrir mine. The drive through will allow him to get at least close enough to go for this engagement. He opted not to steal it at first because he wasn't sure if he could just get the free motion away from it. He didn't want to have to use one of those charges here. Well, Wizard shoots it out anyway. So it's a little bit of a, I'm not going to say a missed moment, but a confidence change.
Locality I9, are you going to be able to challenge it? We're seeing quite some bucks this tournament. Basically challenge the verticals being set up by the defense, and coming out on top of it, of course, a C8 is a great gun, a great assault rifle to play with here. Always has been. I know when it just came out, it had like the highest recoil of any of those assault rifles, but that definitely changed as Muzi finds Dark with a Nitro. Right through it. And again, I mean, they're trying to take control of Solarium, but it's kind of failing, using some utility, but someone is there to respond. However, it's more people on the verticality right now. Psycho will find the Lion. The backpack sticking out right there. Muzi taking loads of damage, but Fury 2 men down.
I know, and he's still in this vertical position and drawing attention, but he's worried that he's just going to get swung into because, to be fair, it's a game they've been playing very, very well. The blind's over the top, but caught from drop. Pino rocked them on the stairs and leaves just Crit J. Does get one, but suffers half of his own here. And I mean, you're knocking on the door, but they are refusing to let you enter. 3-2-3 NIP. They pull back, and now they're onto their attack here. So this is that sort of question here. Why did Fury opt to start on their attack? And are we about to see, I mean, either a more confident defense of them sort of taking the gamble, or things about to start to fall apart a little?
NIP over the tournament so far have found themselves with 43% of their attacking rounds won. So that's less than what Fury have. That was 48. So that's kind of what we're going into. No, yeah, I know you can count. It is less.
Is it?
I'm just saying, Fury's attacks over the tournament so far have been better than NIP's. And maybe that's why they went for it. Fury just feels confident on the attack, and they know if they get 3 rounds out, they have a really good opportunity of at least bringing this to an overtime, maybe even get it on from there on forward as well. Of course, NIP, they feel most confident on the defense. So, I mean, it's basically a win-win for both these teams.
Setting themselves up, as I said, with what was, for a lot of teams, their first pick site for a long time. The castle gives you a little bit more wiggle room, burns a little bit more utility. It's pretty much a full 5 change here from the side of NIP, where they expected something different. Either way, the only site that we haven't seen yet on this playthrough is down in the basement, is Snowmobile. Yep. So I'm curious to see if that's something where they'll feel a little bit more confident. It has become very dangerous. It was always quite shaky, but especially with Ram, as strange as it is, her ability to absolutely remove any safety.
Completely safely as well.
And just, there's no more wood there. All that wood, you remember all that wood? Yeah, gone.
Like a contractor corner, rip it up floorboard.
It's like, I gotta take this floor. I gotta rip this floor out, but
this
I'm sorry.
Floor, don't like it. Gonna remove
sorry.
it. For sure. Now, top floor is going to be the site. So, of course, you do not really need to be taking the basement. You do not really need to be taking first floor. Of course, it helps if you want to go for some verticality, but it's not necessary. And such, you do see a heavy emphasis coming down from the side of NIP towards that top floor, but also around the staircases, just so you can go up, get alternate ways in. I'm wondering if we're going to see any real verticality coming out, because they don't really have the operators to do so.
Getting themselves the long-range breach through on towards the double window itself, and quick bodies inside too. This is one of the problems that we've seen from NIP, is sometimes they're a little bit slow to launch their attacks. It was the conversation that they had coming into this, why things might have struggled throughout the previous majors this year, and it's something that has unfortunately bit them a couple of times throughout their games. They will try their best in that old school style of Siege, fully set up and go for the take that has been rewarded for a few of the teams against the new meta in this new meta, but it's still that sort of consistent problem. Getting a handle on a team and things go wrong when a sort of plucky defender pulls out one of those early strikes, rebuilding behind the back of it. But now, they're still happy. Box itself has been opened partially. There's a little bit of wiggle room. Back and forth on towards the top door and the balcony outside. More grenades, but they're not really going to get the impact on the kill. There's the E1D, and now just gets the catch. Lycolis gets the trade, the double on the back end. Crit J takes Terrapino. They went for an explosive entrance there, and, well, I wasn't really entirely unsurprised, but a great push back against this approach by Fury. Now, with Pyjamas still locked in, they're just going to pepper either side to make sure they can't move behind the blind. Lycolis gets his third, does get one back Muzi here, but with a 3 versus 1, 30 seconds, he's going to see if he can try and get this kit without everybody shooting at him.
Well, I think he can get the kit, but everybody will be shooting at him for the remainder of the round here. So he's going to have to try and force himself into some 1v1s. I think the best way to do that is really through Piano, but hope that one swings you before the other, because if this is a contact game out here, as he gets one, instantly shut down. Well played there by the side of Fury. And I love that BG Man went aggressive there, by the way, through the breach. Yep. He was the opening pick, sure. But the E1D went off, the Bs were right behind him. He couldn't fall back or he would have been shot as he did, so he tried to cause a surprise. He tried to be a bit of a panic move in the sides of NIP, and luckily the rest of his team able to instantly just find 3 on the back of it. They find themselves with that round and in the lead.
Bar Gaming we'll be heading on to next, and yeah, here's that moment that you were talking about. They were able to pull the first, but it's just that 9mm cover. It's always such a fun gun to use. It's sort of a little bit up and down, but
almost no recoil, like because of the slow rate of fire.
It's just flat. If you need to hold an angle on it, it's so fun.
It's due to the fact that the rate of fire is kind of low. Yeah, it's a slow firing gun, but because of that you can hold an angle for longer. Correct. Right? It's like if you're playing around with like the MX4 Storm, it takes half a second your mag's empty, right? It's great if you take the fight, but if you want to hold down on an angle when a push is happening, one of those slower rate of fire guns or the Elda, I mean this works
well,
everywhere.
yeah, I mean, now you're just comparing SMGs to LMGs.
to LMGs.
Like,
you know, that works.
You don't have to be a genius to be like, one of these has more bullets. One of these is smaller.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm just opposing against other operators you could bring at that point, but the Frost...
What's the difference between a shotgun and an LMG?
Well, both fire plenty of projectiles.
Whoa.
I'm just saying, one does it in pumped and the other one does it continuously.
Breaking your way underneath, standard for the take up here. Make sure that they can't really comfortably play the snowmobile stairs. We have obviously seen Fury punish an NIP player that was in that very position, and we've also seen times where they've just taken and screamed up those stairs because it gets you a sort of immediate bit of destruction towards the site itself and some important control. You just minimize the rotations that can be made by the opponents. Steady drone game, steady NIP, steady approach. Can they steady the ship a little?
The big question. Pressure over the top. Coming in slightly, or at least sending out some info. I wanted to find out how many players are going to be around in that library area, because it is a very heavy roam from the side of Fury. It's not like they're anchoring down on the side. There's 2 players out there. 1 on the top floor. There's 2 going to play around. Bar, cellar. Bar gaming, sorry. And we have 1 around or 2 around in the actual basement with an opportunity to go for a flank.
We start to hear that push once again. The E1Ds echo across as they side to side and swing themselves towards the eyes in the hatch, and the pressure onto the small box. The hatch itself is open if they want to go for the drop, but BG-Man isn't feeling that just yet. Has Dark with some cover of support here, who's under his own little bit of pressure, has that pocket of space, and he's just far enough away from the grenades potentially catching him out, and hopefully has a Wamai disc or 2 that gives him a little bit more support. The more time they can waste here, the less time, obviously, NIP have to try and get this kit down, and Crit J's actually going to retake a little bit of Flora's drone. I think that's a Flora's drone. Yep, Wizard doesn't quite get the angle and the push on the player. They have to try and force something here, NIP. That's what they're trying to work out. Are we comfortable enough to try and force these Rafter players and take them out? And at what point will they look down and go, uh-oh, they've been rebuilding. The first take is BG-Man's. Downs on Sapino, the E1D's on the back, the blind in the second! BG-Man is able to tear it, and a third is about to pop at the same window. Like Soulless gets 1 more, can't quite make the triple, and Moosey's able to bite 1 back. They're going for the pick back up, but 30 seconds left. Crit J's still in sight, rebuilding everything they've been breaking down. Like Soulless on the swing onto the back towards the big stairs, but he has to be cautious of blue as there's a rotate that's coming back up from the Wamai. In this case, though, as I said, NIP, you got to try and get in the sight. They're just going to have to hot drop the hatches, go over the balconies, and see if they can stick it with the head down. They do win an important fight on the back end. Moosey, ever reliable, gets the clutch and the kill. Wizard with the cover, and somehow NIP hold on to the rest of the round.
That one really south really quickly in the library, and they managed to bring it around on a crucial moment there, and NIP still able to find a round win on the back of it. And this is the kind of resilience that you want to see from these teams at this moment in time. Things can go wrong horribly, but you can always come back into a round. The only example you need was Wolves earlier on when they lost 2 5v2 situations on match points. It's never over until it's over. And NIP, even though they took it down, took a kill, then a second one dropped from their team, still able to turn it around, still able to get back into it, which is brute forcing themselves through it, just trying to continue that push onwards. And then those 2 players that were in the basement, sadly not in the right position to actually make anything happen because it went so quick from there. 4-4. And we're headed towards the kitchen. So still no snowmobile or garage. Or wine cellar, sorry. Same thing.
It is.
To come through. So will we see it today? I don't know.
This... I'm no detective. I'm no investigator. I'm no Clouseau. It smells like a particular take here. Bonds with the glass, back on the blinds. You're looking at no hard breach at all.
Yeah, no gadgets either, right? So it's like...
This is going to be a bit of a drive.
It's just going to be a brute force through. There's no other way. Like, they're going to be opening up and just trying to take the fights and deal with the angles that have been created. I mean, you do have the Psycho, like Psycho on Buck, right?
The Psycho.
The Psycho on Buck.
Yeah, the Psycho.
I meant to say the Buck with the Psycho, but... has the opportunity to open up some of these soft floors.
I know it might be the Psycho. He finds it, gets him, and knocks him out of the round. And there is that conversation. I sort of said NIP. They sometimes suffer at this moment in time. They've lost what is the sort of only driving force against any of the walls in the hold itself. You lose your Buck, you lose your soft breach, is bad. You lose it when all you have now is guns and sort of hot and heavy utility of trying to just force yourself into sites and positions and fights. Well, they got to try and make this stick as close together as possible. A great first take onto Crit J. That's a lot of utility dump. That's at least all the 3 Candelas are off. There's still 1, but now they're gone. It's the trades inside the site. BG-Man slowly sliding his way around. Crit J's down, but he'll just be feeding intel about the position of Moosey. So as soon as he moves up or down, a misthrowing grenade, there's at least a finish on the player. But BG-Man getting Moosey at the bottom of the stairs. Cons. All that's left in the roll of the glass. 3 players to get through. I mean, everything that's locked will stay locked at this point. And a mute jammer in pocket.
It's just that issue with this push here that we saw is, of course, you lose the Buck, but that happens. It still has something to go for as Dark will get that final kill. But the issue we saw is so much utility got used They get it down on the back of it. What do? They keep hanging on the windows. Didn't actually force themselves through when they had the advantage. They just gave Fury enough time to send someone down towards the Solarium stairs and find themselves with the kills as they finally started going through. Great play, by the way, from I9. A good read. They open up. They need to go for a reload now. Little did he know it was the bug, probably. He could have swapped to the skeleton key and completely ruined his day out there, but he managed to get that very first kill. Importantly, and Fury now 4-5 up. I don't know what it is, but every single time I see like a C team play or like the Apex teams, they're always so thankful and happy whenever they win rounds. It's nice to see.
Down to the basement. We're in for the first time this playthrough, and as I said, don't be surprised if you see, there she is. Ram in the pockets of Pino. You can just remove all of that soft, all of those around those chairs, and anything that you think is safe underneath inside the A site becomes just pretty much unplayable. There's very little pockets, a very back line or blue, and it's just such a strong way of forcing people back. And then you're looking at the plant spot on either the open breach or the common one just tucked at the bottom of the snowmobile stairs, just by the side of the bomb chassis. Yep. On B, you don't need a huge amount of control, and importantly, you don't really need to enter the building to get it done cleanly. So you can set yourself up, put your feet up, and get things locked in. They'll start with some attention towards the top floor. How long will it take them to start smashing down the walls of the site?
Oh, you need to get some top floor control here. You're all the way in the basement. There's always going to be a setup around that first floor, especially when you have these operators that are great at verticality. You just want to be having that top floor under control and see if you can make anything happen from there on. Drones will be spotted out, at least Dark. Jay, I believe, has gone unspotted, so they might think about one person being around Trophy, not knowing of the second. C4 comes in on the rappel. It's not going to be able to find anything, though. Jay almost dying from the verticality of the hatch, and now they definitely know there's going to be two players out here.
Oh, what a swing background, Dark. I mean, we talk about guns with not a lot of recoil. Let them right hands is a laser beam wizard. Hits hard. Back against Crit J, Psycho suffers a bit. There's these big scrape fights that aren't quite having a resolution yet, and that sort of works in Fury's favor, not only because they're doing some of this damage, but you're looking at obviously the impact. C4 still in pocket as well. They have the ability to play against a bit of range here and just take a little bit of that shoulder of damage to remove the remaining players. Now the Rams starts their work here across the top, and then you can get this sort of double stacked and second storied through. They're steadily clearing things, but a minute 20, and they've only just been able to get to that ground floor. This is the important part. You'll see the position of BG Man will slowly change. He corrals it. Great use of the Zoto canister. Now, obviously, it'll just buy themselves some time, and then they were able to shoot it out as well.
Con's definitely aware of the fact that someone could be up on the stairs right now, and it makes him a little bit afraid. Whereas the hatch will open up at some point, just sending out a couple of Excarals. Oh,
the
no!
Kaid
came in!
And then the Zoto canisters Fury. They're sort of saying, this is what you want to do. Nah, beautiful play of the new operator, really demonstrating some of the sort of lesser known angles and ideas to hold on to this. It's all buying precious time. We've seen last minute executes work here from NIP, the rotate. Especially coming around here, they're trying to get themselves restructured on a different take. Wizard, he joins the low health club alongside Pino and Psycho. And even though they're able to take one more player and get themselves that body balance, they still have the pressure of getting the execute. Pino goes down. The impact round to the back end player doesn't get the end of them, but the remaining are trying to shove their way down towards that default plant spot I talked about before. They're waiting for a fire to pass. They cannot go for it because of how low health they are. The blinds onto Dark, they still have the pressure. They're only able to just start pushing down blue. They got the pick back up. There's two for Lysolis. There's another one for I9. They're out of time. Fury on NIP's map sits on map point.
And just a stall out there, crucial from the side of Fury, and that is going to be causing a tactical timeout. So NIP, they're going to have a little bit of a chat with one another because things just don't really go as they expect it to go. Fury putting up an amazing fight so far, and it's not like sometimes what we have when teams are winning that it looks like they're barely getting across the finish line. It's Fury that's legitimately being in the driver's seat for most of these rounds. If anything, it is NIP that clutched one or two of these rounds that they have currently. So
it's true. It could be and should be over. You look back at the bar round. where NIP pulled it back on this sort of second half, and you know, they did well, as anyone does, to win a clutch. If you're down and out and you're in that underdog position of a round and you win it, it's still good play. But it's the argument of sort of, if you're an underdog taking it, you're in a position where it probably shouldn't have gone your way, and it does. Great for you, but also more of a comment on Fury's game, as you said. And here, I mean, 6-4, the great UC utility there, the great pressure onto the time of NIP. They're really stressing that focal point.
Yeah.
Of the Brazilian team.
And again, like, you might lose some players when you're challenging and stalling a lot of time, but you had 2 players, both the Jekyll and the Lion, firing down with everything they had. Whilst they were on 1 HP, sure, they get a kill out of it. But, like, they rotated, and they're like, oh, the main wall's shut. We can't really go there. So rotate back in, go towards the staircase. They have to go towards blue. Basically, the entire round just fell apart for NIP there because of the fact that they could stop the Bugies and that they could keep the hatch closed because of the Electric Claw, because of the Zoto canisters. And then they ran out of time. It's like 10 seconds. What do? You just got to start pushing down the staircase. Oh, wait, there's fire. And it just all went south. So, again, a perfect stall coming down from Fury. From the roam on, where they fell back with like a minute 30 left, which means that they need to physically clear out everything to know if there is something out there, to them starting to open up with about a minute left, them being stalled as they do, and only having 20 seconds to make a decision. Look, why is there 3 people with the blue stairs there? It's just
hanging out.
Just hanging out.
Just keeping things.
Bunch of friends, you know?
Bunch of pals. Bunch of pals having a good time. All right, NIP, what's the team talk about? Where's the pace going to come from here? An early E1D. Not sure what they're trying to catch, but unfortunately they leave a little bit empty-handed apart from the reveal that, yeah, we're on site.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
It's like, kind of expect that to happen, some of these points. But cool. 6-4, and it's unfortunate. Bravo drone bounced back. Not sure if that was a goal, but it's still going to be getting some utility. A default cam on the second attempt. Boop. Usually we did have the bulletproofs up there as well, and it's still going to be located in the exact same spot. It's about to be hacked as well. A lot of information to be given.
No.
Oh!
Shot out.
Shot out?
Hit the EMP of the camera, I think.
Oh my god, that is so smart.
EMP of the camera that was being stolen hits it, and they shoot it out. Beautiful, perfect. I mean, it's a default place for that camera to be, but they lose the utility. We talked about the sort of value of how many charges, how many takes you get. They're all out the window. If it gets killed itself, Wizard, he's pushing onto the back, just going to utilize some of those bees to burn through that. Gives himself a little bit of an option on the swings. They can't quite predict the direction that he's going to come from, but look at this positioning here. NIP Pino, he's been able to get himself tucked just underneath, right on the rotate. If they don't know where he is, he almost had the engagement there against Crit J. You might not know how lucky he was.
He's going to go up and try and reinforce a little bit. Oh, as the E1D pops off, he's going to be using the Keeper Bear, but it's actually not located the right way. Pino finds Dark I9. We'll find one in return as we find ourselves in a 4-on-4 right now. So everything is still going the way of Fury, actually. BG Men will shut down Pino.
They came out of the way. It was the Fenrir mine. The F-Dot was just in the position. You could see the panic as they tried to rotate out. All of the support for the NIP punch was pulled back. They didn't quite have the confidence to move behind, and it turns into this, an execution. Cons is caught, and Fury, almost with a little bit less pizzazz than expectation, they just take them out for the celebration. It is cool and calm, and for their game so far, it has been so well-paced.
It looked very well-paced. It looked very controlled. No chaos whatsoever in the movements of Fury. And sometimes you see that, right? Like, it just all goes down south in one of these rounds. You see them panic a little bit, but everything was controlled. Everything was well-paced. Everything was thought through. Fury just felt like they were in control the entire time, had no issue whatsoever with any of the situations that were opposed on them. Like, they just kept being calm and collected.
Spoiler alert, for how the games went a little bit earlier on today, Brazilian favorite lost.
Yes.
And, well, the other game was Brazil versus Brazil. There was
so a
going to
Brazilian
be
favorite lost.
A Brazilian favorite lost. Here, another Brazilian favorite. But the Brazilian SI is one map down. Go to a break to see if they can try and pull it back and get some success.
zones, for example, and it's a freebie picked up. But yeah, I think 2 rounds is great for Liquid. Many would sit there and say, I'll take 2 rounds on Clubhouse on the attack, no problem. 3's always the dream. But for Dark Zero, now they've got to flip onto their attacking side and show us what they can do. As I mentioned earlier, I think you'll see quite a lot of Ying coming out in this half, even though in this first round there is none of it. Instead, we've got Bolo on the glass. Okay.
I would say when you bring in an operator like Glass, you've got a very specific plan in place. I would imagine it will involve Dirt Tunnel and possibly some smokes. But saying that, there's no smokes on side apart from the Capitao, so they're going to have to be very reliant on Pamba and Glass working together here, if that's going to be the case, if they want to take full advantage of that thermal scope. Normally, of course, Glass could bring them for himself, but Bolo instead opting for the nades, which is obviously something that we've seen, you know, really drop off in popularity since the change to the fuses, that you can't cook them anymore, so the vertical nades not really being a thing. We've seen very few kills achieved by nades. They're more just there for creating space now.
Yeah, notice on the attacking side for both teams, you're seeing quite a lot of breaching charges brought for the exact reason the Buck is planned away. You're not really seeing Sledge played at all at this top competition, just not really in the meta when Buck is a thing. And I think without that now, Ram you'd sometimes turn to, but for Clubhouse, not often. You see the occasional team bring it to get kitchen and hallway opened up, but more often than not, what you'll see is a Buck. With that not being available, expand away. Instead, teams, it seems in this game at least, are relying solely on that secondary utility to get the job done.
Canadian on the IQ, just roaming around the entire map here, giving all that information into his team, pinging out exactly where the gadgets and concerns are. And then we're going to have hatches and verticality started. At the minute-and-a-half mark, it's not too bad for Dark Zero, but considering that there was nobody out in the map for Liquid, they haven't really had to chase anybody back to site, clear any roamers. They possibly could have done this a little bit quicker.
They could have, but I think both teams have been relatively slow so far, again, because trying to play for the rush game, not really going to be a go-to. Dekeeb is a massive part of the rush game play you see coming out of this tournament, and admittedly with things like Fenrir still on side, yes, the Azami's taken off, but Fenrir is like the ultimate. It's slowing down attacking teams and just denying you really any real agency, that you do have to be more careful, you do have to be more measured, unless you're willing to play like 12 flashbangs, but come back to the Buck ban, you've got to bring breaching charges for sites like this.
Pamba going to be hitting the stock hatch now, just looking for that angle down to blue generators, knows that there will be a presence down there. We see the impact nade go in, likely to just burn out that were my magnet, which it will do, and then we'll give access potentially for the Capitao to send in any further utility. And as suggested, Bolo and Pamba are working together. Bolo likely to try and use that smoke utility from the Capitao, Nif just having to push into the smoke a little bit, will continue to be delayed. And I did mention time earlier for Dark Zero. It's coming down to the 15-second mark, and they are only now looking to push side.
Yeah, you've got to make use of something here. You've got to get something done. Two smokes are still in back pocket. They're not even going to get to use the glass the way they want. It's kind of a drop and hope for the best, but straight into one of those FNAP mines. They're planting through it as well, and still they can see absolutely nothing. Talk about blind hope coming out from NJR. Be sticking it through, but getting pushed in. Liquid get the close down. Tim, that was a 20-second meta round. Quite literally at 20 seconds. DZ just realized, ah, crap, we're going to have to drop and just try and make this work, despite all the utilities still stacked on site.
Yeah, I think Liquid did a great job of the defense there. They were nice and patient. They were very calm. They just waited on site. It's not always the easiest thing to do, to just sit on your keyboard and think, oh, you know, you want to take the piece, you want to take the challenges, you know exactly where they're stacking up. But Liquid, they would not be pulled into a fight that they didn't need to take. They just held it, waited for their time. They wasted time really, really well. And I think, yeah, DZ overall, maybe just a little bit too slow on the attack there. Recognise that map's clear and get yourself in. We see teams, you know, with sort of 2 minutes 20, 2 minutes left on the clock, opening those hatches. Huge. And you just feel that extra 30 seconds might have really done it for them. But as you see there, just mopping up. NJR managed to get the diffuser down, but it was a little bit meaningless in the end. Well played, Liquid.
Yeah, when the guys stood on the actual plant spot are blinded by the FNAP mine, you're relying solely on those two players inside of Dirt. And as we saw in the replay, Volps just fully in control of that bottleneck entrance, and it's an easy close out for the side of Liquid. 4-3 then to Dark Zero. Expect that to balance out in the next couple of rounds. As you can see, Liquid on the defensive side. We spoke about it to death at this tournament so far. And now Dark Zero are finally seeing Pamba get across to the operator they spoke about on the desk. It's the Ying coming along for him. And I've really worried for a second because during the start of this round, we saw Bolo again on the glass, and I was like, man, we just didn't see it of any use last round, I'm afraid. So I'm glad that there's been a change away back onto the Thatcher here. Some more supporting the opening up of NJR and Nafe when looking for those reinforcements, for example, or potentially making use of them more for the utility on site. In particular, I'm looking in towards Nesk, if they can get an EMP near him when the execute comes in, or onto those FNAT mines. Those are the two golden targets for this round.
Vulture taking a little tickle of damage there as he moved across the main door. A spray through the barricade and a bullet or two catching him, but nothing too severe. Black Eye cams, of course, being brought along regularly for the defenders with Valkyrie available. We're going to have the breach opened up there, and that is step one in trying to push across to the gym and bedroom site. That's going to allow access into CCTV. It means that Dark Zero can get a little bit of pressure then onto the balcony side, start using those windows because they don't need to worry about being peaked. He goes Pamba in behind the Candela. Fantastic use to get that entry onto Nest and start carving that space. Palu is in big danger as well, caught out from that utility. Full flashed and taken down. 3 versus 5. This is a great attack from Dark Zero, but resets. He gives them a little bit of hope here, Liquid, in the middle of the round, and Volps on the flank manages to find Bolo. 3 versus 2 after a flurry of kills.
I literally called it 30 seconds beforehand. 2 AMPs committed on the roof above the warden. They drop a Candela in and they flood in towards red. And the thing is, Liquid are leaning so heavily into Nest being able to hold top red. They've got a shield committed to that hold for that exact reason, that he can deny the breach. But when he can't turn his gadget on and his full white screened, well, you know exactly what happens next. The flurry of kills come through. They get rid of 2. Volps tried to make a backstab from underneath happen, but simply Dark Zero were too ready. Great start to the attack for them. And Tim, they've still got a whole minute to work with. Yes, they haven't got the Ying on side anymore, but with 2 players on site now, and that's all you got to play behind, those C4s, for example, this is winnable. I only worry about where the Goyo canisters are going to be, because that could really slow this clock down to 0.
Yeah, I mean, Dark Zero making a smart choice there. NJR getting opening that jacuzzi wall. We saw that Lagonis was just standing there. He was waiting to take his fights, and for my money, Lagonis is one of the best site players inside a siege. If you let him pick his position, if you let him pick his fights, he will close out a round like this. And so by opening that, it creates that phantom pressure, it moves him around, and all of a sudden Liquid can't be as comfortable. But there go the Goyo canisters that you mentioned, and it's on the right window. Resets has just made it so difficult for Dark Zero to do anything. 10 seconds left to go, and Liquid, they just need to try and keep themselves out of gunfights for now. But Nafe, he goes in through the master bedroom window, starts getting the diffuser down. The cover was essential. NJR with 1, Canadian with 2, and Dark Zero find themselves 5-3 up after their first successful attack.
And again, great use of flashes. It is becoming the defining part of this competition. You had Reset sat on that west main breach and ready to kind of step his way through in towards Jim and challenge onto the plant going down. But as the plant started going down, for about a second in, we would think, 2 flashes immediately dropped onto him. He's full white screened. He can't move, which gives them a little bit of time to get in position and ready to deal. 1 on the gym window, 1 sat over the planter, and they get a beautiful crossfire as he steps across the challenge. Just, again, brilliant team play out of both teams. I've loved the way they've orchestrated so many of these attacks at this point. And at 5-3, Dark Zero have got that 2-round advantage. Tim, we're coming into that critical round 9 here. DZ win this, they're up to 6-3, and something tells me they're not going to be like Wolves and throw it away at map point.
No, you can see definitely a world here where Dark Zero are going to take this opening map. And when we come in, obviously we look at those map picks and we think, right, who likely wins what? And for me, I think Liquid on Chalet I'm not too sure about as a decider. I'd be kind of concerned as a Liquid fan for them having to go there. And I sort of feel like if this is a game that they're going to win 2-0, I mean, yes, it's always the best way to do it, but for Liquid, it's definitely going to be the best way. And that's why I see Nighthaven as what I'd call like a swing map. If we go in there and Dark Zero win it, for example, if Liquid do manage to come back here on Clubhouse, then yeah, I think it's going to be a tough day for them. But even then, it might not matter because Dark Zero right now, they're taking Clubhouse away as well. They're not letting Liquid have anything here.
The beauty of it is, at this competition, the only two teams that Darkseer and Liquid have lost Clubhouse to has been the reigning World Champions and the reigning Major Champions, G2 and W7M. So even with these map picks, I don't feel like either team is like at a huge disadvantage when you look at it. I think with Nighthaven Labs being second, I honestly thought that would be the decider. It's quite a low prep map for both teams. I thought Chalet would be what DZ opted to go with. So that might have surprised Liquid a little bit here, and I think we could be in for a really exciting map too. But I'm with you. DZ win here. I'm expecting a 2-0.
I'm loving watching this DZ team as well. You know,
Well. Was this a surprise? Was this a result people expected? Well, kind of. Obviously, you have these two teams stack up after the year that you had, and you sort of see NIP as being able to get themselves into it, but Fury played it very well, and it wasn't sort of all guns blazing. It was just a well-meted, well-paced. They knew NIP's weakness, and they played against it.
It was a well-structured game from Fury. They knew where to be. They knew how to catch NIP players off guard. They perfectly cleared their angles. I don't think I've seen them make like many mistakes. Maybe one or two silly ones, but like overall, really solid game from Fury. Like there's nothing more to say about that. It's super solid. And like I'm really excited to see if they can continue this over Consulate, because if they do, and if they play like this, they might make a pretty deep run.
I am a little bit worried for NIP right now because we're heading to Consulate. We have seen Consulate from them this tournament. It was their first map against GK, and the only map they lost in that series. Okay, it went to 6-8, but where NIP have struggled is on that sort of attack on new thresholds, new places. They're never really the team that adopts new things, be it operators, be it maps on the map pool. It's rare to see that extension from them. Fury love it. They live for it. They bring themselves the hot and heavy change, so we'll see if we get there. But one thing we sort of see across the split here, BG Man had some huge plays, huge swings, a bit of a difference maker, but really even from pretty much everyone in the lobby.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, I said it before, we kind of see Psycho. He was doing quite well, and like up until that half point of the game, that's when he slightly started to drop off just a little bit. But Cons, though, he's going to be like, he was at least one of those top performers on the side of NIP for like, you know, at least third place or second place in the lobby most of the time. Finds himself just slightly behind. I mean, as you mentioned, it is pretty even. It is 5 kills, and the next person up is, well, 5 or 7. But you kind of have to see him do the set of next step as well if you want to have a good opportunity of bringing this to Skyscraper.
It's an uphill. You wonder the team talk that's going on in the NIP camp right now. You wonder the sort of confidence builder and boost they're trying to piece together, because really, yeah, it's a little bit of shaky waters. It's a little bit of trepidation, and nothing has been clean for NIP this year. No. I think they've always been battling, and everything is a fight. You know, they've obviously been able to get themselves decent enough runs and deep enough runs at the 2 majors to get here. That is almost an entire swap.
I was going to say, like,
prediction last time.
I know that the prediction is just going to swing to the other side after how Fury just played, but I'll just wait until it is eventually called before it is final. There you have it. I mean, and not surprising with the way that Fury played. Again, almost the perfect game of Siege we saw there from them.
I loved it. I think that there's stuff in that game, which you don't always say. There's stuff in that game that I'm going to steal for my own games. And that is a lesson, because obviously, you look at what pros do and you go, oh, I want to do that. I want to play as well as a pro. But then in the same sort of swing of that, oh, I can't play as good as a pro. I can't do that.
Or it's like the stack I play with don't know how to set up like this. So
stack I play with don't know how to set up. But things like the Zoto canister play to defend the basement and to buy time, people won't truly expect that. That, for me, is some of my favorite examples of what a new operator can do. Everybody will look at CCTV War. Everybody will look at playing against it with a bandit trick. Tim and Pengu do that when they play together. Brilliantly, might I add. Not everybody will look at playing against the pocket play of Ram by pocket play, and
I don't know if it was intentional. I mean, I think it might have...
100% it was. 100% it was. You could see them position.
Of course, but I mean, I don't think they picked the Subaru just in case there was a Ram on the board. I think it was more of a, it's there so we can keep Snowmobile shut, maybe the hatch shut, and it was like, oh, there's a Ram. Let me just Zeldo canister it. So like an addition to why it was brought, a perfect nice little, you know, extra. They might have not expected it in the first place.
We start with Fury starting on attack. Now, Consulate itself is, as I said, a little bit more of an unknown quantity. It always is when you're the new, you sort of building on the block. You one in the pool, swimming around.
It wasn't all building. It's just been reworked.
It's just been reworked, but it's...
They've added some extra rooms, extra walls.
It's not even Consulate 2.0, it's Consulate 3.5. Like, it was such a
quite different.
big change that it's like...
I remember like the first rework that came through. That was Clubhouse.
Yeah.
That one was already like pretty big, but like really the only thing that really changed was that the construction part of the map got added to the game.
Yeah. And then they were like, okay.
And now suddenly it's viable. And then, you know, they changed the sites because first we had like...
there's a rehost, by the way.
Yeah, there's a rehost, by the way. But Bank, like one of the later reworks, that one is just like completely different map. It's like the textures are the same. Some of the sites are still the same. However, like the entire way how you approach it, no longer there.
I will look at old clips, like in Milosh's
Video. Yeah.
Milosh's epic video of the history of Siege and the history of esports and Siege, and you'll see things like Oregon and Club before the and you're like, oh yeah,
That's what it looked like.
oh yeah.
I mean, Oregon is not like, of course, you know, had a little bit of a touch up as well. It's not like a massive rework.
No, Oregon was like that was a 1.0 to 1.5.
Yeah,
that was like a
something like that.
The biggest change was down in the basement. Really, there was like.
And you basically can go back to this and say, before the rework, you would play a mirror window in the cubby and you could stop the hatch execute, which was always there.
Yep.
And now that's no longer there because the hatch is no longer on the site. So it's like that's like the biggest change in how it played out.
The stairs having the side open as well, and hiding up and planting on the default being a washing machine. Memories. Club, the top floor being separated by external.
Yeah, you could really only play basement. There was no other viable site.
There just being a gap in the middle, and it was like it's like the top of favela where you could run between the two doors.
Yeah.
But on
I mean, it was a construction, well, like the construction wall on what is now logistics, of course. That was still there. You could open it, you could reinforce that, or you could, you know, run through. Indeed, as you just mentioned. Again, it's funny to go back and see how far the game has come, especially if you just look at lighting and like the whole mood of the game.
Oh god,
It's become a lot clearer now.
Old Bloom looking out a window and just being like, ah.
You couldn't look outside the console. You'd just be blind.
You would just like that was the extra. There should be an operator who just brings Bloom back. That would be the most overpowered.
He just sets up like construction lights
Just construction lights.
aims them at the
It's
windows.
like film set lights. Console office meeting room. We are back in a very quick rehost. As we find ourselves, as I said, Fury, I don't assume that they'll have as much sort of joy attacking this because it is a much sort of stickier map to attack, and we do not have an example of them at this tournament playing against them.
Yeah, and we'll have to wait and see how it plays out this time round. Now, Consulate before used to be known as like the repel map, right? You'd also be on the always be on the repels, and never really had to get off that much. For a lot of these angles to be opened up, to some extent there is still a lot of repelling going on. Especially around the admin side, you know, if you want to take that. It's basically 3 windows that you have to try and get through. That one is still pretty much there. Otherwise, it's more so going into like repelling to get into the building, but not directly to take fights from there.
Yeah. Alright, Fury, let's get the start and the show on the road. They opened the previous map with a bit of an Ossa play and plant here. This time, I'm not going to say it's a bit of a smash and grab, but whenever I see Ying and you're attacking this site, I always look towards the sort of tuck-in windows towards the top floor. Just getting in that little cubby box that can be played against well with... Well, the Glash is probably going to cause a lot of problems. You assume Wizard has some setup there of canisters. Depends how aware they are of this approach here of Fury. Just a quick comms rotation. Getting some consulate clarity. Otherwise, weighing things up, looking for options, concerned about run-outs. This is that slow and caution I expected.
Twitchstone taking out a lot of the utility already on that ground floor. Gives basically free opportunity for them to start moving through and open up. BG-Man, by the way, safe way to open up those windows there. You don't have to punch it if you have that shield. You just start the placement, but cancel it right before it lands. Lycol is out there. There's just a little bit talking to cons out there. It's like you're still in the window. Yeah, okay, well, at least I'll stay aware of it now. But I believe that a push is starting to come through as the repelling cons. A bunch of flashbangs from the Candelans are hopping up as well as the tracks are making sure that some of the lock-offs are indeed there. And now the building has been entered by the side of Fury. And of course, they'll be trying to get more and more players inside so they can actually try and go for an execute afterwards.
Yeah, they're seeing if they can try and shepherd their way across the top here. This is what the Oscar's going to be very good at. But again, if it turns into a little bit of a... Hi there, how you doing, Clash? Oh, wow, probably better than you are, Ossa. They have the ability to just sort of force the Ossa back. It becomes awkward. You are, you know, sort of prone to damage at all points. The frag grenades towards the back just to, again, force that space. But you can see what they're trying to get control of. The default plant spot where the Clash is exactly stood. Removing her is going to cause the biggest problem here. A bit of a late breach here onto the external balcony wall. They're concerned about the run out. There goes a lot of damage towards the Clash. They're able to get the shield up just in time. Uzi's trying to look for the fight. Can't quite find it anywhere because Fury have once again sort of picked themselves up and moved up. They're all still stuck and stacked. They just need to try and find a way to get this execute together.
That's it, Dark in a crucial position for that. And flashbangs again coming through. Will sadly get Dark as well, so he cannot really push on the back of it. BG Man now going for the plant right behind the Ossa shield. No one's there, I mean, they're just going to be able to get this down. The fire and the smoke on catching the Trexter cover up the track as well. And with that, a plant in a 5v5. And NRP, someone let that happen.
I mean, they trusted the smoke canister. They trusted the fire, but they had no cover. They get the win onto the first fight. They're just going to move behind the Clash. Now they're doing everything they can, but the smoke canister forces them off their own retake.
What?
If they'd have just kept strong-arming that, they might have been able to move behind the Clash. There's Dark Ground on the back end. There's the Clash gone as well. 3 for Dark. Will get caught out by the swing back round, but their retake was foiled by themselves. In the chaos, Muzi with a huge one. He will lose the round. The timer is too far gone. Fury open up with yet again another Ossa plant play.
And it shows you don't really need to take care of the Clash. Just need to force some fire back enough on the side and so you can go for a plant out there. Fury. And again, I mentioned it, previous map as well. Very focused on getting these plants out. Very focused on the objective game. And you see here, it's a 5v5 post plant that's happening. Because they had no idea that that plant in the meantime was going through. They trusted the smoke. They hoped it was enough. Not the case. And whilst Muzi finds himself in that 1v1, loses it in the end. No time anyway.
So I was quickly trying to go back through my records and see, because I don't think I have a record of Fury playing this map at all. I know I don't have it at the majors, I know I don't have it at the tournaments, but my stats, unfortunately, aren't quite including a lot of the smaller things. However, I know you have access to some of the biggest brain sheets in the world.
Pulling it up right now. The Consular, 75% win rate, played 4 times.
4 times.
Only a single loss.
Pretty good map for Fury. Pretty good map for them to bring. They haven't played it at the majors tournament, at the sort of major scene as well. So you assume, as you always do, that they've played against easier opponents, warmed up into it.
But there's the thing as well, right? Like, there's been such a long off-season before we went to SI. There's been so much time to improve your map pool for all of these teams, or maybe even completely overhaul it. So, like, even though they might have played it like stage 1, right, and they won it a couple times there, all that data is going to be absolutely useless now, because things have changed. Meta has changed. Operators have changed or been added. So the way you used to play it is no longer the way you can play it now. And again, a great opener for Fury, finding themselves with a bit of a sneaky plant right under the noses of NIP.
I mean, it's brilliant play. It's brilliant play. They get themselves into that sort of position. We know that they can be good attackers. They lose the entrant. Dark, taken out. The man, 3 from the previous round. Wizard still just in a very prolonged fight there, but Muzi finds the swing onto Crit J. Wizard's able to get some support. The pair of them head down towards a basement that is otherwise still far from open. The breaks above mean that you assume it's going to get tricked pretty much instantly. So Lycolis doesn't feel confident enough to go for the break, and fair enough, because, well, look who's gone. The Buck, that vertical control that you've sort of always classically had on this site, and this take is no longer viable. Instead, it's going to have to turn into a firefight to win it out. Oh, and there's it.
Great one coming in from BG. An important kill as well, as that allows you to start taking up some vertical space out here. You can start manipulating that hatch into your own way and cut the corners, and BG does exactly that. Manipulates the hatch into a kill on Tapio. 3 on 3. Suddenly, doesn't really matter anymore that those 2 opening kills went to the way of NIP. The main wall gets opened up as well. They have the hatch under control, which means there's only 2 real positions where players can be crucial to actually stop this plan from Lycolis from happening. It's going to be around the yellow stairs where Wizard is playing, and Muzi's position where he can just swing open the double door. So that's where the next pressure needs to come down from, as Lycolis goes down by Muzi, just scalded out. As we find ourselves in a 2 on 3 with stunts coming down, it is looking good for NIP, but there's still an opportunity for Fury to bring this back.
They've got themselves 40 seconds, though. That risk of time, it's a conversation we've had many, many times against NIP, and now the favor isn't in their favor. BG Man with the rotate background, but obviously without the hard breach and without the soft, you've only really got to play into what you have here, which is the single break and a kit so dangerously isolated. A teammate, I9, is just watching from the hatch itself. They're trying to force the players to swing, and then they can take them out, get themselves an even game, and suddenly they can go for the drop, but they are not handing them a fight. BG Man's been able to slip his way in towards the site itself. Might not know about the player that could swing here. It's Wizard. Gets their take onto the planner. They can just watch for the remaining drop of I9. However, they refuse it. They're able to fly their way on through. I was wrong, Hap. I was mistaken.
We're wrong.
I was wrong.
Okay.
It has been played by Fury at a major. I looked right out. My eyes glossed right over the G2 game. I just saw G2.
They lost that one, right? Back then.
They did.
Was that the only loss they had?
They did lose it. That was the loss, 3-7. Okay. I actually went looking for it to find the loss, and I just straight up lied to you. I lied to the room. I lied to myself.
But at least you apologize for it now.
I apologize. Stand up to my mistakes, as far and few as they are in between. They only won 3 of their sort of defenses, 1 attack when they got to that second half. So they've currently matched their attacking record in that game that they lost at a major.
Yep.
A few months ago. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, everybody.
It's okay. It's okay.
I'm so
I
sorry.
forgive you. I am pretty sure the viewers will forgive you as well.
I doubt it. There's already threads on Reddit. What a piece. NIP, they have a good sort of stalwart hold on that. The top floor play and the attempt to win their ones did not quite work out. Now they're going to have to go for something a little bit less sort of heft to it than middle floor hold. They're not going to rotate their way back towards the top floor, I don't think, because...
Not yet, at least.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
There's no one currently on the site itself. The site is empty entirely. Now, there is a lot of vertical you need to take clear of here. Yep. Okay, Psycho has rotated his way back into site as the Solace. They have the hatch to jump down, so they can get the read in. And now they're starting to return to it. But I was very curious, because I saw Fury start to run towards that immediate window.
It's like, we can just technically go in.
Yeah, I was like, how's this going to go?
Especially because there was no one playing on this one doorway. If there was a drone out there, we could have seen a very early plan to go through. That's for sure. Now, Fury did actually make a slight mistake in that last round. They weren't aware of Wizard's position. They didn't drone him out, so he was just playing out there. That's eventually why that round fell apart when it was a 2v3 post-plan situation. So, they need to be better on the utility and information game right now. Oh, that's why they're using the E1Ds. That's why they're using the Candelas together with the Boogie. They're trying to get themselves in as Dark digs in deep, but he is blinded. And, if he would have committed, he would have probably been able to get the kill instead. But now it's 2 that fall by the hands of NIP.
I mean, a great watch there. Either side, they sort of expected the push and the pressure. You've got Crit J trying to lead in with the French shotgun, which in those surprise strikes, when you're pressing an advantage, can work wonders. But here, now they've got all the expectation, and, well, they have a shotgun of their own. It's going to turn into a little bit of a shootout. And to be honest, I put my money on Cons. Oh, I'm broke! As is Cons. Crit J got the swing round, and that's why you shouldn't gamble, kids. Now, with a minute 20, Muzi's going to see if he can try and recollect it, but it's a double! Ooh la la! The French shotgun's popping off all over the shop. Finally gets caught by a range that it can't quite battle back against an ACS. 3 against 2. The drop down over the top. Lycolis is going to see if he can try and move in. They're still playing against an F-mine that's been, causing problems of its own. Do they have the angle? Just miss. But it's a big backpack and a big operator, and they have a very small window of space to hop in. The flash is over the top. They're going to see if they can move in. You assume there's a rotation, and it is. They're free and out, but Pino does suffer for the journey. Lycolis Gone for the drop right behind the piano. I9's the one with the kit, though, and that's the problem. Because Wizard, I believe, has also retaken, the top floor. He's got himself some control here. They've gone for the rotate round. Psycho wins out onto 1, leaves just I9 in a small box, and they have 2 stories to control him.
Both 2 players on low HP, though, but it doesn't matter. Psycho picks up that final kill. They take the lead in the map right now as they shut down the plant attempt that came through. But that Fred shotgun, that really packed a punch out there. Crit just able to find 2, and then losing it out to the shotgun that is firing slugs on that longer range. It's a bit unfortunate, but again, they were fighting back, and this means if you're down in a 5v3, it's never really over until it's over. Of course, they lost around here, but they still managed to bring it back to equal numbers without too much effort. Yeah, FNAT, though.
I mean, it just caused
top 3 players.
So many problems. NIP, for the first time today, have the lead. They've been able to keep themselves battling even on the previous map, but they were just not able to get themselves the difference. And when a game gets itself towards that sort of back and forth so continually, finding this moment, this kind of, it's almost like a statement. It's like an affirmation.
Yep.
We can be ahead of them, we can beat them, we can be in control, and it's been very controlled. These have been the best holds we've seen of NIP so far today. It's been very locked in and solid, and the awareness, I think most importantly, on what Fury are doing seems so tip-top from NIP so far.
Of course, Fury really focusing on trying to get their plants down. They did in the last map. Only managed to get 1 so far, though, so not really the action or goal they were hoping for. Actually want to mention, last map, it was 4 entry kills for NIP, 7 for Fury. That's the other way around now. NIP has managed to find themselves with 3 opening kills. I'm willing to discount the first one, though, as the plants already went down before the first kill came through. So, you know, that is something to keep in mind. The drone is being sent in as the defender opens up the window for him. It's always nice from them. Be able to get any information out of it, though. As, yet. Without the opening, but too much it can do to respond to it as of yet.
The roll of the Flores drones. Oh, a little catch there onto the lip. Apparently, so did the defenders to just shoot it out. To get themselves the angle. Pino takes a bit of damage. There was a second of a run out. Not entirely sure what that was dabbled with, but it's nothing that has an immediate catch or an explosion on the back. The wall is broken, and there's just a heavy watch here from Lycolis. He's just sat on the Aussie rappel, watching and waiting for somebody to find their way in. You know, it's actually called that in the game.
What?
The upside down rappel is called an Aussie rappel.
Oh, is it?
In the game designer notes.
Okay. That I didn't know.
Well, there you go. It's a fun fact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Appreciate some fun facts. There's no clash on the board, though, and that should make things a little bit easier with trying to force these players out of control. However, that also means there's an extra gun that's up and fighting at any given time. So that is a bit of the risk that you need to be finding out about right now on the side of Fury. We do have the Candelas up above on the upside-down rappel speed. We'll find the very first kill onto Pyjamas. Not quite sure what happened, but as soon as these Candelas start coming in, they might have the opportunity to just flood the side instead.
It's definitely more of a struggle here from the side of Fury. As I said, NIP, they've entirely woken up to the approach the Fury like to do. They have their sort of lock and key now, and yeah, this wall's open, but all right, try and enter. We're watching it. We're paying keen attention. Last time, remember, they were pushed off the retake. They were pushed away from it by themselves at one point. Here, they're making sure that every bit of territory is still monitored and everything is handed over only when they decide it. The aggressive fight back, a nice little swing, because it means that those first Candelas net nothing. Neither does the follow-up. 4 versus 4. Fury strong-arm their way in towards the back line. They have a bit of the smoke cover towards vending, towards the end of the long corridor, but they don't have the take. And there is the response. Quans with 1, and ooh, a little dabble with the shotgun round. Do they want to go for the follow? No. There's 20 seconds. Why should they?
They can wait. They can afford to wait right now. Flashbang's coming through as they're still trying to find a way to take down Lysolas. As I9 goes for the plan, Pino just pops up, managed to shut him down before they can even get halfway through. And it seems like NIP have this one in the bag as it's only up to Crit J right now. In a 1v3, he managed to get to first, but as he walks over, gets shot from the side. And with that, NIP building onto their lead, bringing it to 3-1.
I mean, brilliant from NIP. As I said, they sort of read the mistakes from the first round. Things were chaotic, and in that chaos, Fury could operate. Now, the sort of lock in on where Fury are, what they're doing, and when they need to make their motions happen has entirely rewarded NIP with these 3 rounds. They feel as comfortable as we sort of commented on Fury feeling on the previous map itself, and you can see those sort of problems now from the side of Fury. They're not able to find players that aren't offering themselves into these engagements. It doesn't really matter how sort of plucky your gun skill is if you can't get the offer of a fight at all. So, 3-1. Now we keep the rotations going. We're back down towards the basement, and here was the sort of start of the end there because, you know, they lost 2 bodies quite early on in the top floor.
Yeah, for sure. And whilst they did again manage to bring that back around, they eventually lacked the opportunity to drone out the player that was on the yellow stairs, like, or at least beneath the yellow stairs. And if that information would have been known, the plant spot would never have been chosen as they did. Maybe that round would have gone the other way, but that's all these what-ifs kind of situations. Fact is, they just need to make sure that they are getting the opening kill for a change. 4 in a row now have gone to NIP. Fury really need to be picking up that early engagement here so they can manipulate it. They can force that into their own way, into their own advantage, and then work towards a plant spot. Can't just go for a 5v5 plant every round.
Not every round, unfortunately. 3-1. Fury, what can they sort of do here? What do they expect from this engagement? It's a defender-sided drive. It always has been across this meta. But at what point do they call the timeout? At what point do they sort of get the response of, okay, maybe things are slipping a bit too far away from us?
I would expect it's after this round if they would lose it. Considering they would like to have 2 rounds out of this half at least. You might also just have to save it for that second half. I mean, like, if you call it after this, you only call it in for 1 round, really. Is that really worth it at this point, or are you too far gone? It's kind of something you have to keep in mind too. But as top 4 is being approached, it is the Bailiff. It has been a bane in the existence of many players throughout this tournament so far. We've seen quite a lot of Bailiff kills actually come through, while it's usually used as a bit of a landscaping tool. Decorative tool.
Decorative.
Yeah.
BG Man's trying to find an engagement. The hot pings are coming across, but it's dark. That gets landscaped. He is now decorative.
Yep.
And we'll just watch from the side of the wall where his blood was spattered against it like colas. It's the catch on the rotating Psycho down towards the bottom of yellow, but he's not quite able to get the follow-up here as Crit J goes for the pinch on the back end. They've been able to remove 1 player, but Wizard is going to turn into that problem. Is it 2? No.
You got the bigger shotgun.
He got that bigger shotgun. There's always a bigger shotgun.
I was going to say, there's no way he's going to be able to find 2 kills with the Bailiff out there. Wizard, like, wasn't allowed to get away with that. Shut down this time around. BG Men will find a great kill onto Cons before he gets shut down, though. Muzi's found himself around on that first floor, playing around with the Solace, has a good opportunity to use that gadget, but gets shut down by Crit J. Only up to Pino now in a 1v3 situation as they're trying to open up the wall. The breach is going to connect, and Pino now will have to force himself to watch 2 different angles as flashbangs come in from the hatch. He's expecting the run through, but he manages to drop the diffuser. Instantly shut down afterwards, though, by Crit J. An important round from him, from stopping the Bailiff from close range to finding 2 more kills afterwards.
They've stemmed the bleeding. They've been able to at least stop a bit of a runaway here on the first half, and we might be eyeing up another even half to half. It's the same as we had on the first map here. It's been a good response. They didn't quite throw themselves into the engagements that Fury did in the first time around on that take, where they were sort of going, I'm going to go win my ones. I'm going to head off and, oh, they had a little bit more knowledge about me. This time there was a very sort of metered pace. They made sure that everything was in rhythm with each other. They made sure they had the positioning to catch the rotations of the player, and then the response towards a player being dropped. You look at the previous rounds that we've had from Fury, and there hasn't really been that trade capabilities. There hasn't been someone else within sort of arm's reach or in a position ready get that second bite back. NIP, they can still push themselves into that sort of 4-2 position here as we go to the vertical hold that, you know, last time here again, Fury, there was a very back and forth engagement up top. Ran out of time. They had the retake. NIP's round.
Yeah, the FNAP, that one is really all we can accredit that to. The first one walked in completely blind, basically tried to force himself into one way or the other, and instead of digging deep where he knew was, you know, someone just rotated out of, he went in the opposite room, which is just rotated into, and completely blind, not going to be able to take that gunfight. It wasn't like for Crit J with that shotgun able to find. I think he's running it again as he's running around with a pistol, by the way.
I love it. I mean, he netted 2 kills with it.
Yeah, but it's such like a it sounds so loud when you fire that thing as well. It's just like you just get shot by a cannonball or something when it comes out of it. Yeah, there you have it.
There it is.
It's one of my favorite shotguns in the game.
I mean,
it's just on slow operators.
I remember there was a long time it was the worst attack gun in the game, full stop.
I know it was on Twitch as well, right? And it's like you have the FAMA, so why would you use it?
And then you have the DMR.
Yeah.
And
so why would you use the shotgun? There he goes.
Hopped over. He's trying to get a catch on a player. Nobody is in that position. Dark tries to lead the fight elsewhere. Does get dropped. They're just going to force the follow around, though. Cons gets one. Crit J's grenade gets the end, but Muzi makes sure that things stay in an IP's favor. There's the next swing, though. They don't know about I9, but he knows about them. He can't quite get it clean. The pistol for the double. Wants the third. He is almost out of bullets on both guns. 5 shots left, and he gets a second, but he's terrified of reloading at this point because he knows they can push him. But Wizard,
if the flashbang hits him, he dies.
I mean, he could not be closer to death at this point. Fury launched themselves with Fury. I talked about how they didn't quite have last time round somebody else to respond. This time, the statement, the confrontation was all so well put together. Sure, they lost that first fight, and the Yin goes on the little hop-in, but the positions of I9, the follow-around of Crit J meant that they could still win the balance.
The fact that Crit J has this shotgun, if he manages to get some pings from Lycolis or anybody else on the drone, he might be able to just start ripping open the floorboards and try and get them from a vertical angle out here, as Lycolis will get shut down by Pino. Instantly swapping around, knowing that there's someone else coming in from a different direction. Wizard playing above is forced away by that grenade. That has definitely made away some sound here. I9 will go down. It's only up to Crit J with that French shotgun now in that 1v2. All Wizard really needs is a flashbang to hit him. Not that he has them, but just to illustrate how low he is on HP.
They have the top floor control. They have the vertical. It's so dangerous at this point because, well, it can pretty much get an eye onto you anywhere you'd want to put the plant down. They have to have the awareness and trust they have it. Crit J, they're looking for just their route through. They're concerned, obviously, about, again, all of their steps taken. Look at the rotation from Wizard above. He knows Crit J is on this door. He knows he's coming through. NIP hold on in the 2 versus 3 to get themselves the 4-2 half.
Important for NIP, of course, after losing that first map where they were not in control at all. Yeah, sure, they got 4 rounds, but that was really Fury's game, just coming out supreme over the majority of those rounds. They need to have that good half they just had. They need to just show up now as well and continue and push this to a map 3 because, again, I9 had no business getting away there.
Imagine if he'd been able to land the last shot onto Wizard as well. Like, I know it's one of those conversations of imagine if things were different.
Yeah, the what if.
The what ifs. This game is full of them and based on them.
Entire championships could have been going the other way.
Yeah.
Just go back to the one phase 1 if they lost the 1v1 against Ren.
Well, that...
No, I'm just saying. If that if one bullet from Rin actually hit the last phase player out there, they wouldn't have been in the finals. Wouldn't be able to win it. The best of 5 record wouldn't have gone to Cyber as well. You know, I'm just saying. It's like
history, the beat of a butterfly's wing.
That's it.
All right. Other half, second approach here, and this is still, well, we have a bit of hesitation about NIP. We have seen them struggle in this, and then they start to build back. Here, if they can get themselves off to an early start, the 5th or the sort of, the 5-2 even, or the 9th round, the 8th round, if we get them keeping themselves 2 steps ahead, well, we sort of see how that can respond across all the games, but it means that they can keep that confidence, and it also means they can put a bit of fear into Fury.
Of course, Fury are the underdogs in this game. It's important to mention. I know that the social statistics they just set 65% Fury, but that was after they were 30% in the first vote that came through. So, you know, they are the underdogs here against NIP. They've already shown up huge, and they're making little amount of mistakes. And of course, the attack wasn't really as clean as we had on the previous map, but now they're on the defense. And see if they can make the difference here that is necessary. Again, we said it, as long as NIP can keep up the 2-round differential, they are going to be building that confidence. It's up to Fury to try and break that down as quickly as possible. Preferably just get 2 of them back right here. Bring it back to 4-4. Put up that pressure.
Pino cut the core of the map in half. The Buck gets in a decent position. Now, there is one very loose thread of BG Man all the way on the far end. The Pulse on this map has always sort of been that classic combination. It's cheese on crackers, as it gets you the great read across what is 4 big flat sides of a very tall map. That means that they can sort of get an early read and beat on potentially what Wizard is doing. Now, with this gun, he can break his way down the hatch to try and find an engagement, but there's always the concern that it just takes BG Man a bit of a drift to get into the right place, and there it is, consistently pinging up the new server stairs. Wizard has actually rotated out.
I'm actually watching as well as Musi takes down Lycola. That just sounded like a really clean kill coming through, and Lycola's actually not been able to really find an impact in this game so far.
I mean, the drone game has been perfect there. We can see them running it hard. There's a second for Musi. I9 does get Psycho as we get the pop of the Candelas. He's just going to pull himself back as Cons takes a bit of damage. I9, though, he's doing his best to hold on to the side. He's being shot from he doesn't even know where underneath. He's able to find it before it's too late, but now the rotate on the door is locked in. He is forced to sit as he watches the ground beneath him become thinner and thinner. What do you opt to do? Well, Pino has to opt to support the plant itself. More Candelas, more blind, Dark, playing a slightly off-beast position here onto the side of Spiral.
If you look as well, there's 3 currently pushing through the Soda Machine hallway. Dark is about to find himself in the middle of a fight as BG gets an opportunity. He gets the first down. They now know he's on the top of the spiral stairs. Dark in a very important position here. Q bring it back to a 2v1, and he does. Wizard needs to find this kill. He's leaning in, actually manages to get the opportunity. BG Man, the last man standing. Musi will be held back up. Is there anything he can do about it? The C4 comes, pops, too late though. Won't find either. Wizard now with the plant, and the vertical control is going to be there as well. A lot of damage taken by BG Man as NIP put 45 on this clock.
Oh, he just misplaced and played that. Had the C4, hoped to get them on the rotate itself, but instead now sits 1 story below 2 huge players that still have themselves locked in. Musi has been a terrifying force this map so far, and this round. BG Man, he only has about 10 seconds to win these 2 engagements. Can't get anywhere close. 5-2, and the distance put in by NIP gets wider still.
I'm gonna have to say it though, NIP, they played it well, but then they ran into the player on Spiral that they weren't aware of. It took them basically 3 players to get that one cleared out. BG Man though, on the Pulse, the gadget basically gives you all the heartbeats in the world. You know exactly where they are. He was misplaced. If he would have just moved right underneath, he could have tossed in the Nitro and the game would have been over before the 3rd fight was taken there by Dark. So slight misplay there that we see from the Pulse. Kept himself a bit too far back. Maybe expected a plant to go down, but all 3 players pushing the top of Spiral. I don't know if that's a slight miscommunication issue or if he just didn't check his cardiac sensor in a while, but that could have changed the round. Because Dark put up a hell of a fight out there, actually. He was just able to find 2 kills, almost 3.
I mean, you sort of look at that last engagement, and he just chose that second to duck in and move a little, and that was when the swing came in. That's that siege timing. We actually saw it rewarded to this team the last time around on the previous map. Here was the first take. It was perfectly droned. They had such a good cover on this approach there. It was such a good first lead-in, and the surprise moments. That's Dark.
I'm sorry, but that's where BG Man should have been at that point. You're taking a fight on the top of Spiral. He needs to be underneath it and use that verticality. He has a Nitro cell. Could have.
We had this conversation actually. I can't remember who I was casting with, where there was a Solace and someone else left in a 2 versus 1.
Yeah.
And the Solace, instead of going underneath, came up and fought it as a 2 versus 1. And yeah, this similar sort of idea there was the conversation harks to the point of, do you go with the gadget and trust that can win the round? Or do you go with the gunfight and trust that's what's going to win you the round at this point? And they gambled. They flicked the coin. They thought, we're too far out. I won't be able to get there in time. I still have this. I still have a C4. And then you suddenly find yourself in the 1 versus 2. And then maybe it's panic sets in. Maybe it's whatever. But the misplay on the utility, the misplay on the gadget, costs them 5-2. NIP, they're on the other side. Obviously, the timeout called here by Fury. They got the opportunity to talk themselves as well. The attention towards the break looks like it might come a little bit faster, especially when you see the sort of Monty. You see the Candela's tacked on the opposite end. At the same time, the Monty is opening up onto emergency exit. There he is, and there's the opening on emergency exit.
They're going to be starting to push in there at least at some point. Drone first, checking if there's no one hiding, because he has to unshield before he can jump in. It was a bit of a risky move, but the drone's there. Just check if it's going to be safe. And is this clearing out over towards that basement floor? It's going to be really difficult to deal with. You basically need to team up on him or get a C4 right behind him. This Collins is just moving through slowly. Oh, that's a barricade. Cannot really go that way. And Dusty needs help to open it up, or he needs to rotate around.
Well, here is that support, that presence. Now they have some control of the rest of the map, but it doesn't really seem like NIP want to pay it any attention as of yet. So they're sort of steadying on with the expectation, okay, well, when do we go for the rotate background? As you said before in the previous round, that might have cost them. And now they're just coasting, hoping and waiting that when they do go for this breach and break, that it'll be
break and breach?
Break and breach. Break and breach.
There we go.
It'll have a little bit of connection and impact with the players themselves. The Monty, slow and steady, but again, you're looking at all 10 players up. We're just about to hit that minute mark, and you're sort of wanting to prod both teams with a stick and go, okay,
do something.
Do something.
And that's the thing, Fury doesn't need to do something. They can just stay, because they are the defenders. They can wait until a breach is being made onto their side, which is now the case. Easy opening up. Not sure if that's going to be stopped instantly after. Con's receiving a bit of pressure, but again, huge shield isn't really too worried by it. All he needs to make sure is that there's no C4 landing behind him, or that he's not getting flanked from the side, which was the attempt that was just made out there. 35 seconds, they're at the front doors, but they don't really have any control, and Dark still rotating around. He's going to try and find himself maybe behind him, maybe above them, as Cons goes down in a crucial moment of this round.
They lose the shield, they win the fight on the rotating player, but now they've got to try and just force themselves through. Wizard somehow does. Takes care of Crit J, but there's an off-player position, and there's I9 with a cheeky double. Wizard still taking people apart inside the kitchen, but there's a dissection from I9 on the back, with BG-Man getting the last, and Fury. After the timeout, they held off long enough, and although it was still closer than maybe it should have been, with NIP getting a good take and losing their shield first swing, they're still able to push the round over the edge. They keep themselves off of map point. They keep themselves so far still locked on to trying to pull their map of Consulate back.
There's a good opportunity again, like CEO could have been closer. And whilst that was in complete control of NIP up until the spiral stairs moment hit, they have learned from that as well. And that's probably also what they talked about with the tactical timeout. Like, hey, next time we go back there, think of this, this, and this. And that is what we might see go into play right now, as they're going back towards the console office to try and see if they can ease up the scoreline. Bring it to 5-4. Start upping the pressure onto NIP again, because right now it is smooth sailing for them. Well, not smooth sailing. So there's a little bit of a wave here and there,
there's
but
a bit of
it's
a
like
wave.
there's no chance yet that or at least it looks like the ship is still able to survive.
5 seconds to insertion.
Not flip. Sink.
Keep going.
To the lower bracket.
Keep talking.
Bomb and defuse it.
Skull and Bones. We're back.
Like how we managed to bring that into the castle.
I mean, we're back towards the top here. And we've seen success and failure on this. We've seen it get very close on the side. No pulse this time round. So we talk about the sort of, I'm not going to say dedication towards utility. I'm not going to sort of say reliance upon it. But they want to try and play a different game. They want to try and play one with a little bit more focus. Stop on the swings in the pockets of Fenrir. You're looking at a lot of sort of powerful operators always still on the board with their current meta, and they are up there. Their playtime at this major has been terrifying.
Oh, the new German are stopping out the RC Retiro for Jay. It's going to be thankful for that one. They'll try and take the fight. Oh, a little bit of cover has been removed by the S charge, though, so he's going to have to fall back and choose a different way to play that. But he's activating the AFNAT just to make sure that if the push comes to shove, they are going to be blinded if that's where they're pushing in from. And they're going to have to deal with that first.
At what point will they start to try and make inroads towards the fight? I've complimented the drone game and the intel gathering so far, and it hasn't quite netted the same results, but they do have this. Pretty nice control of where they want to go to next. It looks like there's a dance with the fight, and there's just a side of a water, but Pino slips out of there before he can get entirely locked down. There is someone else in the piano room, though. Just round on the swing. How aware is he of I9, who's had some big swings so far? He turns his back at the worst possible time. It's the reload, and Pino caught out. Psycho wants to get some revenge, but I9's out of there.
Yep.
He's not going to sit around and give them that fight back.
And that's good for him. They have the opportunity now. They have the man advantage. There's a minute left on the clock. As long as Psycho is down below, he's not going to be putting too much pressure up. So instead, he's going to be rotating up the spiral stairs, seeing that that's clear this time around before they start pushing through. Candelas are being tossed in. Flashbangs are being tossed in. That indicates that an execute is about to be happening.
There's the spray. Muzi, again, he's been such a force for the team on this map itself. Cons forces them out of the position. They are still tucked on the side of the box, and well, the blind is going to make sure they can't move against it. Muzi, again, just keeps on stacking and stacking bodies in front of him. 30 seconds and a team kill. Worst possible person to die. They're going to go for the plant. The C4 doesn't get the full bite onto Cons, who's going to stick it. They might think it's clear at this point. There's the cover gone. Gon's still tapping away at the keys. Now he can't slip out without getting a body on the way, apparently. I9 in this clutch situation cannot see the fight, and whoa, Cons. I mean, your team killed Muzi. You got to make sure you clutch the round out there. You can see he had a moment of whoops.
Oh, that's a whoopsie. Man's like dropping 14 kills right now. Just execute him from your lineup. It's like, no, you're no longer allowed to play. It's time for us to get kills right now. So luckily they managed to end it up right there. But again, I9, great play at the start there. Finding the buck, alleviating the pressure that comes in from below, instantly rotating back up to not allow yourself to get refrag. The Nitro Cell somehow not getting the kill.
You can see him instantly.
Sorry.
Like, oh, my bad.
So we won the round, it's fine.
We won the round. If they had have lost the round, that's the sort of thing that haunts you.
Yes.
The 5-3 to the 5-4, and you team killed. And to be fair, Fury probably should have won that round. I know we always sort of cite those numbers.
But the Nitro Cell going over, not able to connect fully, half HP on the Ying, just go right back to the plant again.
And then the Ying getting the plant and then being able to pop back up and get the sort of drive-by drift kill as they're leaving the room as well. Like, it's sort of, everything was stacked against them getting that plant down. But they still made it happen. They still got themselves out. Maybe they killed Muzi so they could steal his power.
It's like a sacrifice. Like,
it's a sacrifice. So then,
give me your power.
because he got killed. Muzi got 2 kills. Cons kills Muzi, gets the plant, and then gets 2 kills. So I think it's the only thing.
It's the only logical explanation
It's
for
the
it.
only thing that makes sense.
Just absorbing the power.
What are you going to do here, Crit J?
I'm gonna wait for a repel, but as soon as the window opens up behind him, he's kind of like, I don't feel like the 180 fight that I might have to go for, so I'm just going to fall back at this point. Actually, he spots out a play. Oh, jump out, jump out, jump out, jump out. No, that's the wrong way. That's the first. That's the second!
Oh, Crit J! I knew he was dabbling with some danger there. The read on both of them. Oh, that's put that in the Solace highlight reel, Ubisoft. I mean,
I thought he was like, they were baiting him at first, you know, there was a drone up there.
It's almost like one of those fake plays that they do when they're showing off new operators and what they can do.
Right here at the World Championship. See, they do work out. As 5v3 situation now for Fury. Of course, they are map point behind. They need to win 3 consecutive rounds in a row to push it towards overtime. And as they find yet another one, BG-Man shuts down Psycho. Wizard, Cons, the only 2 members left standing on the attack. Need to clear quite some ground. There's top floor pressure that they need to basically clear up as well before they can even try and think about going for that plant. There's almost no information. Wizard takes loads of damage. Cons needs to respond to it, but gets shut down with the shotgun. That's the diffuser now dropped as well. And a flawless round from Fury, which all started off with an amazing jump out to come through. I honestly thought it was a bait. Like, they have the drone up there. It's like, okay, Solace is going to jump in 3, 2, 1. But no, they were both still on their drones at that point.
Oops. I mean, great play. Great read by the Solace. But this is that sort of situation, right? There's 2 almost ideas of what you do when you're on map point or against map point. Is you either try and play things as textbook as you can, to get it to the result. But you start going, I need to do some fun things. I'm not sure if it looked like Muzi was coming off at the end. But again, I mean, if there's anyone you want to catch off at this point,
yeah, you need to shut down Muzi.
You need to shut down Muzi.
If Muzi can get no kills from this
Steal
point
his
on
power.
anymore.
You shut him down and steal his power.
Oh, that's it. For Jay now.
For Jay.
He's now... No, wait, actually...
Killed Muzi, got 2 kills.
And Cons had the power before, right? So it's like, did he drop it back to Muzi at the start of the round?
At the start of every round, I think Muzi recollects the power. If I... It's not like the technical invitational winner if it was like a wrestling belt where it's like, who wins it? And you know, that was tracked for a while.
Yeah, I was tracking it as well. I kind of forget about that.
I mean, I'm sure
so much games going on.
I'm sure Sprabuni has it somewhere.
No, I think Wikipedia actually has like a dedicated page to it that automatically tracks it.
The current technical hammer wielder based on who's beat who, if this was WWE.
Yep.
They should get belts.
That would be funny.
Imagine the players
hammer and a belt. You don't have to give the belt off to like whenever you lose. It's like just drive over and be like, hey, here's your belt.
Here's your belt. 6-4. NIP. They got themselves still 2 more attempts to lock this out. Obviously, it was a little bit close in the previous map, but it had a clean run towards the end. It was 3 rounds tied in a row. So from the 4 versus 4 to the 7-4, Fury just sort of turned the gear on. They're concerned, I guess, about that maybe happening again. They have that ability. They have that capability. NIP. They're being cautious. They're rightfully paying some attention, but Crit J caught them open arm. The E1D pops off. Pino is too far away. The buck is gone. Con's gone. They still have a lot of soft destruct thanks to the role that Muzi's sort of playing here, but still, for everything they had to track players in motion. Beautiful. For everything they had to track players in motion, they weren't able to find out that loose thread. Blinds come, Iron gets Psycho, they all run back to the site.
And of course, rightfully so, as they have the advantage, or had the advantage, as Wizard will take down BG Man. Zenapie that still has to be approaching that bottom floor right now, and well, the Goo Mines are going to do some slight damage. Might actually be difference making in the end there. I think that Boogie might actually drop down the hatch and just continue on there. Using some time. Yeah, just went down the hatch out there. Didn't really do much more than that. There has been openings now, so there is that verticality. You have the hatch open. That is an important part if you want to get that plan down. But we've not really seen this be successful so far this time. Every single time it's played, it just goes to the defenders because it's too many angles you have to cover off if you don't have the man advantage.
50 seconds, NIP, and you got yourself the 3 versus 3 and time to rebuild. I've already said it a couple of times about the criticisms of where things get a bit shaky for you, and it's the ones that you've learned, but Crit J is feeling a bit adventurous, and he finds a result like Colas in I9 for the last 2. 6-3, 6-4. We are now 6-5.
Tactical timeout NIP incoming question mark?
I mean, it's technically, it's obviously 2 sites in a row. They've had 2. Maybe they're just convinced that they can lock it down on console. But you think about how close that one console round was with the pulse underneath.
Yeah.
It would entirely flip this game now statistically on its head. We'd be sitting on series point.
They're not going to call it. So they're moving it on and trying to bring this to 7-5. But the last couple of rounds have been sloppy on the information game from NIP. Twice, a player named Crit J able to just catch off some amazing openers. And they just bring it home from there on forward. Also, they finally started getting into the opening kill game. Because NIP, up until round 7, had every single opening kill.
Oh, really?
And now, after that, so from around 8 to 11, all of them have gone towards Fury. So, basically completely flipped out there.
Fury have everything to slow a plant here possible pretty much. They've got the Goyo canisters, the play against the smokes, and the Goo Mines. They're going to see if they can try and go back to what they did so well on Chalet, which is slow down NIP's game. Slow down their approach. Slow down when they sort of feel like, hey, we can go for the throw here. What they don't have is the stop on a throw here. No ADSs, no Wamai discs, and you're looking at Cons at least playing the Ying this time, but it's been a pretty continual pick and drive here. alongside nothing against the drone game, which again has been very well played. Whether it is the run on the Flores or the Twitch or just actual droning, there hasn't really ever been too much of a, hey, we should maybe stop them having all this intel.
Yeah.
It's easier for us to sort of say they have it so good, but NIP have had it so good. They seem to have had a really good read on Fury's defenses and on where they're sort of setting themselves up to be knocked down. Until the last 2 rounds.
Until the last 2 rounds.
Until the last 2 rounds.
Where Jay's just decided that, no, you're not winning this 7-3. Or at least going to be bringing it back to max regulation, and we'll see what we can get from there on forward. R6 going through, wasting some small amount of time right there, but I still think, yeah, Wire will still be caught off. He's got the target for it. Still going to be some opportunity left. Verticality starting out now as well as a buck from Pino playing down below, holding off on some of these angles as well. But the more he fires with that skeleton key, the more he's giving away that, hey, I'm downstairs, come and hunt me, kind of vibe towards the side of Fury. They've done that many, many times before, and as it just continues opening up, you actually see the one player up above. He's just looking down. He's like, yeah, where are you going to pop up next?
Ready and waiting, and obviously he was one of the ones that was sort of shepherded. I9 once upon a time was in this position, and the buck forced him back. There it is, but he can't quite get a clean exchange. A little bit lucky there, Pino, but he was caught by surprise by I9 down here before when it was a flat fight. The buck is very necessary, and you can almost see the caution. Look how he's not turning his back towards any of the room this time. He was caught by a rotate on that side, and lessons learned via blood. However, the other lesson is the time itself. Psycho trying to, well, I was going to say swing up spiral, but they're going to try and force the players off first.
Be rotating back around, so it seems like it's very heavy coming in from the admin side of things. And to be fair, we've been able to get away with that basically every single round so far, and soon the Cadellas will start to pop in. There's only 45 seconds for this execute to actually start happening. Spino continues to open up. He's running out of ammo slowly. Will have to start joining his teammates at any moment now as Psycho on the top of Spiral. Are they aware of it? No, they're not. Like, Cole has dropped a very important operator with what's left on the board.
I mean, huge take there as well. The positions, the swing round, but there's Dark getting one, but gets locked off immediately. Very important by Cons to keep the drive rolling. They flood into the top of the Spiral. J gets Psycho, though, and takes a bit of damage, and then can't quite get out. Cons with a double, leaving just I9 underneath. A huge rotate round onto the back. He's going to have to pass Barb, which will give some of the noise of the game away. They've planted right in the middle. They're not on the default. They played it very clever and know exactly where he's coming from. NIP looks set up to send this into map 3 at this. It would take something meteoric, and he doesn't quite have the impact. NIP win out here. Very close, but it makes things very spicy for our third map.
The opening kills really helping them out here. They basically got most of the entry engagements in the majority of those rounds, and whenever they started losing rounds, well, that's when J started to pop off. He had an incredible map. That might be just a little bit better here throughout the game, finding themselves with that 7-5, pushing them to map number 3. And so far today has not been good to Brazil. Has not been kind to those teams. So they really need to have NIP pop off now.
It could not have sort of been a rougher start, I think, for the region as a whole, obviously with what happened earlier on in the day. But yeah, how this map started to kick into gear, 7-4 into a 7-5, you're up against Skyscraper. It has a lot of similarities for a lot of takes towards Consulate as well. This will have filled NIP with a lot of confidence.
It should definitely fill them with a lot of confidence. But for Fury, it wasn't like they were clueless. It wasn't like they were completely out of the game. It's just that they were a little bit outclassed throughout this map out here. So them going towards Skyscraper against NIP, well, that is probably going to be a barn burner.
We'll have to have a quick break first before we're back with it.
Diffuser should go down. 50 seconds left to go. Liquid desperately need a couple of kills.
They've got control of this part of the map. I think Nace below, has he got a C4? No, he does not, but does have a shotgun. Doesn't matter, can't get rid of him in this spot here. So they're going to have to retake behind. This 1v1 I was going to say is crucial, but Palu wins it out. The dynamic duo, arguably one of the most storied in Siege history, have got to pull it off. One falls, Nest gets the down at least, but now he's got to find NGR. I never fancy a 1v1 against him. Dark Zero take a comfortable 2-0 against Team Liquid.
NGR, after a fantastic first map, comes out and has another belter on Nighthaven Labs. 8-3. He will pick up that final disable of the diffuser to close it out. And what a performance we have just seen out of Dark Zero out across both maps. They will continue in the upper bracket with a victory over Team Liquid.
And so much of that domination came on their attacking halves as well. Looking back at the previous map, yes, they were up 4-2 after their defense, but it was on the attack where they really shone and made themselves a big, I think, at least here, planting a flag in the ground and saying we are a team with a serious chance of maybe not even getting top 4, but winning the whole thing with that kind of play. There are definitely titans for them to overcome on that journey. G2 and Sonic spring to mind, but you've got to start looking at these boys as serious contenders right now. 20-3, I think it was, by the way, between Nathan Bolo at the end. Unbelievable.
Unreal. We've seen great teamwork from Dark Zero. That's one of the things that I really want to take away from this matchup for that team, is how well they have worked in combination with each other. It's been fantastic. They're a team now that I look at and I can't wait to watch them again. They've got that excitement, that energy about them, that passion, and the ability to back it up, and they are a pleasure to watch at the minute.
Can't wait to see more of them, but let's get down to the desk to break down that series.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. And there it is, Dark Zero with North America victorious against Brazil. It's seeming like Brazil's chances are being slowed down, hampered, some would say. Welcome back to the desk. I'm Melis, with me is Jesse and Bolo, the man. When does he play? When is he on the interview? It is right now.
Hello. Good. We're feeling really good after that. You know, we did some nice prep. I think in group stages, you know, the G2 loss kind of woke us up a little bit. Before that, we haven't really fell to anybody in the group stages. So, you know, losing is learning, and I think we learned, and we showed it today, and hopefully we continue to show it later today.
Yeah, well, I mean, through this game, it felt like you guys didn't need to do a whole lot of learning from start to finish. It was feeling very, very good for you. There were those 2 rounds right at the start of Clubhouse where you guys did drop the ball a little bit. It maybe took you a little bit to get going. Was there anything that changed after those 2 rounds that kind of got you guys into it?
I think, honestly, just the first 2 rounds were just like simply, you know, getting a feel for the team, you know, just first 2 rounds of the match, right?
Sure.
You know, it's a little warm up, and then we started getting comfortable. We started, you know, getting a little bit loose and playing our game, and I think the results spoke for themselves.
We've talked on the desk a lot about how Dark Zero's pushes have been very coordinated, very good looking, with a lot of Ying and Grim and a lot of these disruption operators. What's it like playing in that type of a style? What's it like when that's going on, the calling that's happening, setting up for that as a player? How does that work on your end?
I mean, honestly, it's pretty fun because it's like every person has a purpose, right? It's like, you know, X holds Y angle, you know, X throws flash here, you know, blah, blah, blah. It's all just like a nice choreographed dance, and I'm happy to be a part of it.
Well, how different is this meta now playing with Dark Zero compared to the meta back when you won on TSM?
Honestly, it's a little bit faster. It's a lot more about map control, and honestly, I'm really enjoying it. You know, my previous comp experience was, you know, the whole nades under. Now there's a lot more power spots, a lot more emphasis on like the, you know, the Grim, the Ying, the Dokkaebi, everything, and it's honestly a blast. It's honestly a blast playing it.
Okay, and I have a clip I'd like to walk you through. It is an execute that you guys had on Nighthaven Labs. Just tell me what's going on, your thought process, and how this push goes for you.
I mean, this is just, we kind of prepped for this. This was a concoction as of last night.
Okay.
So I think it went pretty well. It's just we wanted to utilize, because we knew the Warden was top mez, right? So we just utilized the smokes, the flashes, and just took all the map control that we needed.
It was a nice shot.
Thank you. You watch this. Watch this. You ready for this? I was hyped. Bam! Look at that. You look at that.
The perfect dodge.
Look at that. They can see it back there. I mean, it's just you know, perfect execute against a team that wasn't really prepared for it. I think that's just the name of the game at the point.
Love it.
You made the Warden look like a chum, to be very honest, between both maps. Timing on the EMPs and all was perfect. We talked about it on Clubhouse. We'll talk about it in a moment here on Nighthaven. Bolo, anything you'd like to say to all the fans out there? I'm sure there's a couple of them out there.
I mean, man, it was a fun match. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and you know, let's hope the DZ run for the upper bracket continues, and hopefully you guys are there. Appreciate the support. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bolo. Congratulations, Dark Zero move forward in our bracket. And now it is time to wrap things up in a neat little bow before we go to our next matches. Here we are, Dark Zero 2-0 versus Team Liquid. I have never seen Team Liquid so disjointed as they did today, but that is even more of a positive note on Dark Zero laxing, because it looked like they had total control.
No, this is Dark Zero in peak form, in my opinion. I mean, they are running away with that game specifically. I said it I was worried for Liquid to go into this map, just how we saw them play Clubhouse, and to be the display that they put on was why I was worried. DZ, regardless of DZ just playing a good game of Siege, which I'm not going to discredit that, Liquid just were not there, I don't think, mentally and physically in the lobby.
A 5-1 split attacking Nighthaven Labs shouldn't be something that is possible in this meta. Yet Dark Zero make it look easy. Their executes are so well coordinated. As Bolo was saying on the interview, everybody's got their place, everybody's got their job, and they work in tandem to make sure that gets done. Really impressive stuff from DZ. I truly don't know if there's another team that is attacking quite like Dark Zero like to, with all of these disruption operators, the Ying. We saw the Ying banned here. I said I wanted to see that from Liquid, but there's still the Grim, there's still Zofia, there's still so much that you can toss in to disrupt these strong defender positions. And I don't know if there's a team at this tournament that is utilizing these disruption operators nearly as well as Dark Zero is.
Yeah, and one thing that I was looking at, because I really like to listen in on comms as much as I can, and I think, especially on map 1, Dark Zero looked so calm, but in like a happy way. So they're actually giving the proper intel between one another, giving the good calls, but you didn't see that they were struggling to say what they needed to, and that is incredible from this.
No, when you can play and form like that and be short, concise, and fluid throughout your entire round, you're setting yourself up for success nonetheless. You don't need to be getting overhyped. You don't need to be getting overzealous. Just as long as everyone is on the same page, just like you were saying, Bolo said up here. If everyone can just be in unison and understand what needs to be done, and sure, if there's a hiccup that happens, as long as everyone's just aware of that and can capitalize off of that and make it still work, that's the basic fundamentals of Siege.
So let's talk about our intel play of the game. Resets from Team Liquid will get that trophy. Yes, if you want to call it that. Here it is. Jesse, please help us through it.
Of course. I mean, the 1v4, the problem in this round is just 100% the clock. DZ a little bit too slow on this, and you should think, like, you're pushing in against 2 guys in the basement with your full 5. Yeah, the clock shouldn't be too big of a factor, but resets, oh my god. So smart to pull out that pistol, too, when he runs out of ammo on his primary, and then he aggresses into the door to take that fight, to catch that second last player off guard, wins the 1v1 on time. Brilliantly done by resets. That small individual moments, I think that's there for Team Liquid. The gunplay, the mechanical skill from these guys is there, but it's just working together, being that unit that they've still been struggling with.
So with that said, let's take a look at our bracket and wrap things up post-match. You'll see Dark Zero 2-0 versus Team Liquid. Of course, they will move forward and play Space Station Gaming. That is for later on today. We're very, very excited for that game. Of course, Fury versus NIP is happening, and the winner of that game will go and play versus Virtus Pro. You can catch that on Rainbow Six Bravo. However, much like W7M and Lost, Team Liquid are not eliminated yet. If you come in from the top side of the bracket, you have 2 lives. You lose once, that's okay. You can still bring it back in the bottom bracket, but you play almost twice as many matches. Was it 3 versus the 6? Quite a bit more to
Which can be a good thing. That's not always bad that you get more matches underneath your belt. Sure, your back is against the wall. You can't afford to lose. But a lot of teams, and even for myself in experience, I love pressure. I love being, I just in the moment of like, I can't lose. I got to be perfect. I got to be on top of it. So it's not always a bad thing.
You know all about maintaining tension, Laxton, right?
A little bit. A little bit.
Okay.
I've never actually.
You don't need to show off, Jesse.
Never flex on it.
All right, Justin, let's see you
Go as well.
Anyways, I think I need to rest up my chest after this too. So for that, we're gonna cool it down with our halftime show. See you in a moment.
One map each, and this one was NIP's turn to get themselves pushed over the edge. It started to get a little bit wobbly at the end, but the opening was, well, to be honest, a little bit wobbly as well. Fury, they're able to exploit some of NIP's weaknesses and some of the missing moments, but then suddenly NIP sort of went, well, hang on, actually, we know the game we can do. We pulled our heads back together, and their control over the positioning and placement that Fury could get themselves in just seemed sort of second nature to them. A very, very strong showing on their defensive half. A couple of moments of Fury biting back, but otherwise, and a little bit into the NIP show. Flip over to attack, and, well, similar sort of story. Fury were unable to get their teeth into it. NIP, they had a couple of shaky moments, a couple of jump outs, and, well, some highlight reel clips, but unfortunately, highlight reel clips do not win you the map.
No, they don't. But, you know, when we were just in the green room, just for a quick moment to grab some new water and, you know, have a little bit of a chat, I was talking to Carter, and he said that Grid J and BG Men are going to be flipping this game around right now and making it so Fury is going to win it. That's what Carter said.
Is that exactly how he said it?
He said they were going to make faith or something like, or change faith or something.
They were going to what?
Yeah, I don't know. But when I asked, like, what? And he's like, no, they're doing really well. So
Okay.
I assume that's what we're going to do.
I was going to say, I don't know if this is you mishearing what they said.
Maybe.
Or also them saying weird things. Muzi, he was the sort of man of the previous map as well. He always has that habit across this tournament, across other tournaments, of showing up when the team needs him most. He's very, very exceptional game sense and the gun skill to back it up.
Yep.
An accidental friendly fire incident did stop him at one point.
Yeah.
However, still, he was really the tour de force there. Wizard stepped up too, and although Crit J had the moments, you compare the sort of split last time, especially Lycolis, who was just shut down pretty much every single round.
Yeah, for sure. Lycolis didn't really have the opportunity to get into the map, and so it's a bit of an unfortunate series of events when you're playing in what for Fury is like one of the most important best of threes in their career. Going up to previous hammer holders. If they win this, they go on to, you know, the upper bracket, manage to continue their journey. Whereas many would have expected them to drop out in groups.
It's deeper than that as well. It goes further than that because you're looking at also the region as a whole, not just SE8, but you take the sort of step further. 2023, SI at this point, there wasn't any APAC teams at all. 2022, you had Elevate, but they lost the first upper bracket round 1 match. 2021, Cloud9 from Korea, they lost in the lower bracket first match. The last team to have success in the upper bracket from the sort of Asia Pacific region, back when it was 4 major regions, was Fnatic.
Yeah.
And it was an upper bracket win, and then it turned into a loss. But still, if they can win this map, they'll start to rewrite some history.
I mean, that's it, right? Like, if you go back to, like, the success from the previous known APAC region in SI, you're really going back to, like, the old Norarengo, Fnatic kind of days. And ever since, you know, those teams ceased to exist, the question has been, who's the next Norarengo or Fnatic to step up for the region? Of course, for a while, we had Deepos who did really well, but then kind of dropped off. We had Sandbox back then, now FairX consistently attending events, but never really quite making it as far. But now, of course, we've had Bleed with a very impressive run previous, like a previous major, and now both of them are in the upper bracket.
You want to see success stories from a region that is unfortunately always been a bit disconnected from that, both geographically and being able to sort of get themselves scrims, as they always say. The scrim culture is tougher because you can't have these high-tier games coming to these tournaments. They learn a lot more based on the fact that, unfortunately, they don't have the access via ping, via timings, via whatever. But also, since the region has changed, since we've gone into the new format where instead of it being sort of big single flag waving APAC, it became, you know, North versus South. Then it's now become SEA, Japan, Korea, Australia, OCE. You have all of these different identities of Siege starting to come through, and it makes almost the pressure of sort of putting the distance in stronger, but also weaker, because now you get to be like okay, we are the first SEA team to get this far. We are the first to start putting this distance in.
Yeah.
Similar conversations, though, for NIP. Obviously, you go, well, last year they weren't there. 2022, APAC wasn't there either. 2022, they lost the upper bracket round 1, lost the upper bracket round 2, as Elevate did back in 2022, though they won one of their lower brackets. 2021, though, it was the flawless upper bracket run, all the way to the finals and the Hammerlift itself. So
I was so conflicted about that win because it's like we had NIP going up against Liquid, and it's like I want both to win.
Yeah,
like
10 people get the hammer.
Yeah, that's it. Can we just have 2 hammers at this point?
It would have made it a less exciting final.
Yeah, it would. I mean, one gets the bigger hammer.
Yeah.
The other one gets like the mini scale, like the 30 centimeter one that you could buy at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just kind of been like a bit of a curse that we've had on some of the SI winners where they just weren't able to really perform. And now they're back, still struggling. hoping that they're able to find their groove again and maybe make a deep run. But again, at the same time, I think Fury has won a lot of like minds and hearts at the people that are watching at home, and
The minds, the hearts.
the minds, the hearts,
The hopes.
the hopes.
I mean,
It's still favored for them.
yeah.
I mean, that's kind of the thing. Whenever like a previously APAC region team starts doing well, a lot of people start rallying behind them because
Yep.
usually they just have so much fun when they're playing the game. You can really see that.
I can make things worse right now.
You want to make things worse,
I don't want to make things worse.
but you are going to.
But I can make things
Okay,
worse
just make it worse.
by talking about the result that happened on the other stream.
Oh yes.
By talking about the fact that Liquid, spoiler alerts if you don't want to know, lost 2-0 against Dark Zero. So I'm told Dark Zero played it very, very well, very, very strong. That is now 0-2 of Brazilian teams versus non-Brazilian teams
Yeah.
for series so far. No pressure, NIP can't hear me. They're not going to feel any more. I'm not sure if they know the result of what happened on the other team. But at the home region, there seems to be this huge, like,
Yeah.
terror that's sort of hitting them as you are. You sort of feel extra pressure. And at the minute, NIP, they might be the first team to break that deadlock. Or they might be the third team in the Brazilian versus other region matchups. Because obviously there was Brazilian versus Brazilian earlier.
Yeah. Phase lows.
Phase lows. To get through that. Which is sort of this moment of we're like, uh-oh.
I mean, FaZe is playing against G2 later, and I believe, and like G2 has looked very strong so far as well. So imagine G2 knocking down FaZe, and like Fury knocking out NIP right now. We'd have all the Brazilian teams in the lower bracket, and then we've only yeah, that's a big if that would be happening.
Now it's not all doom and gloom. People have done
No,
lower
of
bracket
course.
runs.
G2
last year, who went down in first round as well
Yeah,
to Wolves. W7M
happens.
To locate
See where we're going.
Ah.
And that's been the story, right? W7M won basically flawlessly to both majors.
They've set
People
records.
expected them to just
This has been a
Clean
record-breaking.
up.
It's a record-breaking year. It's a
record-breaking record.
tournament. Record-breaking record. Thanks,
sorry, Dick.
Nicholas.
bomb located
Oh,
by
a
attacker.
piece. Now, give me some skyscraper numbers, baby. I know it has been played by at least Fury this tournament, and also whoa, by NIP even.
Yeah. Fury won it against Scars. I believe that was an 8-6 victory, so that was pretty close. And NIP lost it against G2. That was a 7-4 victory for G2. So kind of puts it in point. Now, who's the better opponent between the two? That's always what you're going at as well. I mean, G2 still in low bracket. Scars has gone home, so that does say something about the potential performance from these teams.
It does.
But, you know, you're still thinking about it, and there has been VODs, and it has been shown what went right, what went wrong, so it is just all coming down to the next 12 to 15 rounds.
Fury, for the third time, as we commented on at the very beginning, will start on attack. A bit of a weird statistic, whether I'm not entirely sure what the coin flip was on this map. Maybe if they'd won it, they'd opted for defense. We'll see if they can try and hit the first strike, because the other fun statistic is they've won both opening attacks over the past 2 maps. This is the first time they've actually not led in with an Ossa play. And they just don't have one for this map yet.
There's opportunities,
Whoa!
but
I was almost... Careful.
you don't want to take out a feet off your Maverick right there. I9 taking care of an FNet, I believe. Not quite sure if it has been taken out. Just quickly scrolling through some of the drones. Might be some information is useful to Dark, who's finding himself around the barbecue area. Probably going to be heading up to backstairs and is going to start moving through. Now, of course, we are playing on the office exhibition side. We're on the wrong side of the map right now in terms of objective play, but if you manage to clear out all the players out here, you don't have to worry about them coming back towards the objective when you go for that plant.
I mean, we said it many, many times. The default take for most teams on this approach is sort of like old school Villa. You lock down the other sort of top floor section and move your way across both swings like
You
Olis.
can see your rope.
Yeah, that was not great. You can see the rope, for those who don't know.
He can just follow you through as you're
And
going.
he just follows you round. See, whether they were trying to go for a two-player push, either way, look at this push back. Refusing to hand over the territory here, NIP. Fury are playing entirely into the hold. If someone is aggressively standing on a breached wall, it means they want to fight, and you handed it to them, literally dangling from a string. BG Man is trying to flash his way in here, but 55 seconds here. They've lost the Finker and the Buck. They've lost a bit of the drive as well. They've lost their entry players.
Diffuser.
And the
all the way to the
diffuser
ground.
dropped all the way to the ground. Look at Cons rewarded with a freebie on the swing. Wizard with another. A flawless opening for NIP.
You know how Fury would like to start off the game?
No.
I imagine. NIP is definitely going to be finding themselves with some good confidence out of this. And again, you mentioned it, like, you know, they're standing in that opening for a reason. They want to fight. They want to get an opening. The thing is, Skyscraper, and we talked about this on Consulate, is such a rappel-heavy map. But the difference is, you can just see the ropes move from left to right here, whilst it's not really the case with the windows on Consulate. And that could have worked if you went with 2 rappels at the same time, because then it's a gamble. Who's going up? But
I love that energy after the opening round. When, let's be honest, they had full control. Like, I'm not going to go to say as far as they weren't entirely stressed, but they were very relaxed about that approach. Wizard 3 or 4K, swinging around 3K. I mean, they're heated. They know that pressure game. I cannot imagine, right? You're looking at the first chance to win the biggest big on your home territory, on your home turf, with a very Brazil-dominant year in Rainbow Six. And you're thinking, oh, there's going to be however many thousands.
yes, it's completely backed out. It's going to be insane when.
Oh, it's going to be crazy.
And we know that the Brazilian teams, whichever one will play, they are going to be
but they know that as well.
and cheered on. Yeah, of course
they know that as well. They know how much pressure there is. So, right. Blaz, ready and willing and waiting for a fight here on towards the karaoke window. Peaceful Tree. I think that's about to turn into slightly less peaceful.
Never seen that
as a location. No, I have not seen Peaceful Tree before. But I quite like that exists.
I'm going to call that Peaceful Tree window from now on.
Peaceful Tree window. It's such a I love how I said Peaceful Tree.
It's not just a tree.
It's not just a tree.
Impacts will stop the Selmas from opening up the wall onto Exhibition. Of course, we are in karaoke. Again, opposite side. But you mentioned it. You kind of want to have that horizontal pressure. And just doing that from the windows or the balconies, not really going to be ideal. So you try and force as much pressure as you can on the opposite side of the map. However, you see slight rotation being called in from the side of Fury. Not going to be sticking with that. More so going to pressure the backstairs, I believe, as Gemini Replicator is going to be checking if there's any utility whatsoever out there. We might see some of the utility being tossed towards those backstairs soon.
For a day. Getting themselves at the bottom of Blackstairs. Cons is ready and willing with everything to stop it. There's 2 players, and in fact, the blind's over the top. He might not know that there's entire focus, but the Clash is here for some support. Perfect take. Cons swings onto 1, gets half, but not quite the full bite. The Clash, they're just going to slow this push and wait for some support. It's just prepped up there on the top, but with only 1 person being zapped. Look at this. An Execution squad is trying to flood its way around. There's 1 and 2. Butchered. They burn those players out of that position, and BG Man could only watch what was probably a bit of a traumatizing moment there for Fury. Caught in a shoebox and riddled with bullets. BG Man, 50 seconds, and Lycolis instantly just locked in. 2 notes about rappels I think we'll learn. 1, you can see them. 2, when they swing in, you can hear them.
Yeah, you can hear them, and it's very difficult to actually take that fight whilst you're swinging in. Like, the defender, of course, they have like a couple of pixels they only need to hold off. You need to hold the entire room you're about to be swinging into. Solid round from NIP. Of course, just losing out on the player that was on the backstairs, but the Clash coming in instantly afterwards, and just 3 players being stuck on the backstairs there, shut down instantly afterwards. So, you know, 1v4 situation. Assume he might get 1 kill, maybe 2, as he gets 1 vertically. Doesn't know about the player on the window, though. Muzi shuts him down, drops a diffuser, and with that ends the round. 2-0 NIP.
Very strong start here across those 2 rounds. I love the reactivity there from NIP. Obviously, playing on the back of the Clash, they lose the Warden. He's been able to get 1 on the exchange, and then they sort of go, like, 3 other players showed up. Suddenly, they have pretty much the entire team to get revenge there. The players were being shot from the verticality as well, so they couldn't escape the bottom of the staircase. There was the first take, and then this. I mean, he's unlucky not to get more out of the players, but look, the pressure comes from above them. They were truly stuck in that situation. I think that's such a perfect sort of response there from the players, from the team. And now, as they go a little bit further, as they try and find themselves moving into these sort of extra locations, you wonder at what point Fury will they get a bit worried, because attacking on Skyscraper, it isn't as easy, but it's what they do very well.
They have been very well, you know, and very good at attacking here and there. Although, during the event so far, Skyscraper has found themselves to be a 70% defense-sided map.
It's pretty good.
That's pretty good for the defense.
That's pretty good statistics.
Yeah, so with that, NIP, they definitely get the better landing of the coin out here as they find themselves with the defense start with the 2-0 lead, and hopefully for them, they're going to be able to expand on that as well.
Fury! They find themselves onto a tertiary. They find themselves for the first time onto the ground floor, a site that might give themselves a little bit more hope. They will be playing against the verticality. You have the Solace. That has been a sort of consistent back and forth between these two teams, but obviously utilized very well by Jay on the previous map. So lessons may be learned, lessons may be brought here. You wonder what is missing out of the approach of Fury at this point.
I mean, I think it's just a bit of depth in the approach out there, because in that last round, what you saw is they start pushing up pressure onto the house area of the map, they rotate around, and everybody is just focused on taking the back stairs. And it falls apart, and that's either due to a lack of information or due to having no way of dealing with the clash at that point. But they just didn't have the opportunity, they didn't have the grit to move through those stairs and start pushing on from that direction. And, well, as a result, NIP pretty clean round clean after that.
Wow, there's the first take. Muzi removes Dark, removes that entrance, removes that tip of the spear, and Muzi's keeping that excellence. 3-0 so far. And there's that little part of you that just wants to see him keep going, right? There's that little part that knows what he's capable of. And he's sort of proving it this game as of this moment. Trying to find a first bite, a first take has proved not impossible, really challenging.
That's been really challenging indeed. I mean, in the first map, Fury were absolutely leading the charge on the opening kills. On the second, 7 in a row for NIP before they managed to find anything. And right now, 3 of them as well. To NIP, make it even worse. Pino will find one off guard. Psycho with a Nitro Cell is going to take down Colas as well. Only up to Pyjamas and Crit J right now. Carter said they were going to be changing everything here.
I mean, Carter
finds himself blinded.
Did he lie? Crit J is caught in Shrine, stuck between an F-dot and a odd place, and at this point, as they try and just find a single semblance, a single player, there's one. They won't be flawless twice, but I mean, close to. The shotgun of Pino cuts a player in half. They can't even get the vertical. At this point, you think you might be looking at this 3-0. This, maybe the timeout needs to be called. This situation.
Yeah, I definitely think they need to call the timeout right now, because this is basically 3 flawless rounds to go on. 3 kills in total on the side of Crew J. And of course, it's not going to be awarded with 3 flawlesses, but the fact that they've only got 1 kill per round so far basically says enough. NIP in the driver's seat and speeding away in 6th gear.
And doing a Carter impression.
All right, just getting a pen in your mouth.
He goes, that's gone wrong, that was.
It's definitely going
It's
wrong.
a visual impression. Look, there's actually a cameraman in the room right now.
Cameraman is out here.
I'm Carter. I'm excited to see that photo and be like, Carter, this is the impression I was doing of you.
Yeah.
He always does it.
I don't know if he can actually hear us right now, of course.
Oh, yeah. It depends if the A stream's going.
Depends on what they're watching.
In the back room, we have 2 screens. This is like a behind-the-scenes peek.
A little behind-the-scenes peek.
We have 2 screens, and obviously the analysts only are on the A stream games. So generally that's the one with audio, because I guess they have to do their work.
Yeah. It's a shame they have to do their work,
Yeah,
right?
it's a shame.
But maybe you know, halftime show is on. Maybe they're actually watching the other game right now, because at some point they're gonna have to.
What is the halftime show today?
I don't actually know. I did see some trivia questions go on.
I love trivia.
Awesome.
Ask me
some
any
trivia as
trivia
well.
question right now.
What's the name of the Hammer of Sledge? I've asked any caster so far I duoed with during the event.
Wait, you've asked all of them?
Yeah.
Who knew the answer? I know the answer. I'm not buying
Nick
time
and
with it.
Intero.
Nick and Intero. Yeah, I mean it's. Cool.
Nick won 2 of them. So.
Yeah, it's called the K, but.
Yep. What's the name of the gun from Kali? Is it not just the sniper?
CSRX?
Yeah. And then 3000 or 300.
And then 3000.
Yeah. Doing well. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
I worked on an operator of this game. I technically...
What's the elite name of Mute's gadget?
Oh, that I don't know.
It's the Overlord.
Is that the elite? It specifically has a different
Yeah, so for a while it was in the game. I don't know if it still is, but it, like whenever, you know, it's back in the overlay where you actually had the name of the gadget in there.
Yeah.
It says Overlord Jammer, something like that.
Oh, there you go. Hey, 40 seconds has passed, and so is not really anything. A 3-0 NIP, they're still driving a continued bit of pressure here, and this is where it all fell apart in the very first round. Top of the black stairs that Dark has got themselves stuck up onto. They're going for the same tape, generally, physically in position. You can see the rotation coming around on the back end. Crit J is watching on the Peaceful Tree window. Again, what a call out.
That's going to be a fun trivia question. Where is the Peaceful Tree window?
Peaceful Tree. They're sort of watching and waiting for this pinch. Remember, Wizard, he was able to get 3 kills from here with the support of the players, but as I said, they sort of weren't ever forced out of position. They were happy to bounce around their sort of trusted places and where they wanted to be. Crit J is the first to take some damage. They're trying to force the play, but Pino finds Stark.
And another opening kill going in favor of NIP right here. And instead of before, they're in like 6th gear trying to speed away, and they're definitely trying to up that. Quick shoulder peek is giving away I9's position. They're trying to go for a double swing, find him as well. NIP now with a 2-man advantage, pushing through, not too much trouble. Crit J pushing up the main stairs, gets blinded by the FNet. They were aware of his position out there. He's quickly trying to see if he can see something from the balcony, but you know, that player is watching him as well at that point. So for now, Fury really struggling to get into this map.
Again, you look at where the players are from the side of NIP, and they're pretty much where they started the round, right? There's been nothing that's forced them out. Fury have barely been able to get in the building. That is how much this lockdown has gone against them. Like, Kolish finds 1, but he's stuck, continually concerned about a jump out that happens behind him, because if there's going to happen at any time, it's when you're in the 4 versus 2. They're going for the cover on the drum wall that is open there, so they can try and go for a bit of a clean sweep. They wanted the longer range, but, I mean, it's just perfectly played by NIP. And Fury, from where we started today, and this series played so well against NIP's holding expectations, they seem a little bit clueless as to how to approach and break the Brazilians.
I definitely agree, because in the first map, they looked flawless, almost making no mistakes whatsoever. And of course, on gun skill alone, NIP managed to win a couple of those rounds and managed to come back in some of those rounds. In the second map we go through, Fury's starting to make a little bit of a mistake here and there, but it's still looking pretty decent for map 3 as NIP take it, and now NIP just completely demolishing the side of Fury. Only a single kill per round so far on the side of Fury. It's not looking great for them. There's a tactical timeout will be called. They need to have a chat right now, because it's just not connecting. And if they don't win a couple of rounds in the next couple of rounds, potentially getting themselves knocked down towards the lower bracket with a lot of Brazilian teams, which is also not really fun to look forward to. You're gonna have to beat them at some point if you want to win SI, but
Back in. What do you talk about in this situation? I mean, you know, you're looking at Skyscraper. I'm not entirely sure what the map splits were.
70% defense.
Okay. What about for when these teams played this map?
You
get me those numbers whilst I finish my point. We're not sure what they sort of were setting themselves up for, where they said the line of success was. You take your time out here on the 4 side. If you still get 2, maybe that's the line, but maybe they expected to just get that tertiary side, which was almost the classic way, wasn't it, of the sort of esports rotation, was if you get the 3rd site, you're doing well.
That Carter was singing for a second, but he's actually casting. 50% of the rounds NIP played on defense, they managed to win. 70% of the rounds Fury managed to play on defense, they managed to win. So, the numbers.
Okay. So NIP, they found more success. Obviously, they were up against maybe, currently, Touchwood. I don't want to be the one that besmirches their skill or makes things go wrong. The strongest team at this tournament so far.
One of the,
definitely. But they're looking, as they said, we know how to attack. So you would assume those stats would be slightly askew. However, they're pushing that on. They've looked so calm. I guess there's no better test of all your ideas than against a team that is openly very strong at attacking.
Yeah, for sure. And they managed to go back into that, learn from their mistakes as well, and maybe tweak some of the strategies that they've come up with because of how G2 played up against them. So Something to keep in mind as Fury, well, 0-4. It's definitely not looking good for them. Really hoping that they can step up here as Musa receiving loads of pressure. Still alive though. Manages to rotate out without too much issue as well, as he's just falling into a bit more of a passive angle. Watching. Smoke though, near the Samurai double door. Might indicate a jump in to come in soon, but it seems like nothing's following up from it. On the side of Fury, some drones, yes. Oh, there is actually the jump in at the moment that the Goop Mine gets tossed in, so Musi basically stalled that off just in time.
I mean, he's waiting for the audio spraying through it, and you say he hasn't died yet. That's sort of a full stop for the whole map. He's making sure no one swings up the stairs. Lycolis goes deep, and there's Dark getting the first, but there's the trade back on, and it's a bit back and forth. Pino and Cons with Critche making sure that it becomes the 3 versus 3. They've wrested some control. Hey, sound the alarms. Fury are inside the building for probably the first time, but Pino pulls off one. The keeper barricade for support. NIP, so fluid. That sort of watch and lockdown. Remember where the site is. This is the first step of the take and the plan, and NIP have refused to let it grow.
Actually know where Pino is, and we'll find a kill in the end as well. A drone was pinging him for I9 to get that kill in the end. However, a minute left on the clock. Still plenty of work that needs to be done, and as the Roteros start moving through, they'll be forcing the Kiba, or Kiba, Azami to start working back. Well, Wizard is no longer holding any Kiba, so the previous Kiba holder.
All right, the previous Kiba holder has left the room. That is a factually correct statement brought to you by Hap. Pyjamas,
Bomb located by
the man who moves the Keeper carrier, hasn't really been able to get into the kill game of this map so far. Neither has I9. They are two names who did pop off pretty massive previously, and here's the perfect time for it. 30 seconds. Now they have pings. Not entirely sure what the reveal is on the players, but all cut in half. Cons gets I9. They know exactly where they are. Please don't tell me that's a default that's up.
And what else can it be? I mean, it might be the bulletproof. They're on the bulletproof camera, so it must be that one that's giving away the callouts right now as BG Man rotating around. 8 seconds left, and there it is indeed. He needs to pick up the diffuser or go for 2 kills. It's just going to be another NIP round, unless somehow he will find Wizard in the dying seconds. If he would have started shooting there a bit earlier, he could have had the opportunity to close that out.
I mean, they had him on the bulletproof, and they saw exactly where he was, and they went, "Let's double peek him." That's a little bit. That's a little bit overconfident.
It's a little bit risky in the situation.
Risky. You're 4-0 up. Fair enough. That's probably where you can make those mistakes. But NIP, let's tone it down. You assume that's the 5-0. 5-0 here. NIP. They look pretty set up to be, as I said, the first Brazilians to win their
game. Against another region?
Well, yeah, against another region. Obviously, there was one. Great bit of intel there. Fury, it's the best they've looked on attack, but it's also the first time they've really gotten into the building, and it's on this round. So,
they doubled their kills in a single round.
That sort of paints how rough it's been.
Yeah.
They haven't been able to get themselves properly in. They haven't been in a position to have confident trades. They've generally been picked off one at a time as well, whereas you look at the coordination, the keeper barricade covering the rotate onto that sort of swing on the double window, the support on the house stairs on the top of VIP against the player when they lose the first to bring back the second too. Just been so well played from NIP here.
Monty being brought up by Lycolis. And the thing about Monty is, it works in a lot of strategy. Grimrook is a really good shepherd, forcing defenders out of their position. What it sometimes is that it's a bit of a crutch, as in we cannot really clear it out with our guns and utility, so we're bringing this big shield who's just going to be forcing them out of the room instead, because otherwise they're going to be shut down. And whilst that might work, that's not something that you can continually try and do, because teams are going to be catching on to that and going to start bring things to counter that. Of course, now this is the last round of playing on the attack, so there's no direct counter coming in from NIP, but if this would be to go to overtime, they should be ready for it.
Bit of silence, bit of caution as they're trying to just utilize frag grenades for their new intended purpose of not killing people and only removing utility. Ooh, Wizard removes BG Man though, and that's a lot of utility off the board. The hard breach is gone. Everything they'll have will be a drive through. It's not the most important thing, but I guess I don't know how intently it was going to be for this play on this site. The impact hit the player, but Doesn't want to step in. Look how many tricks and traps there are. Psycho.
What?
I think that was behind and past the shield itself. Dark. Oh no. Caught, and Lycolis can only sort of wiggle and wait. We hear another repel, but is this just a second body to be fed to the death machine driven by NIP? They're trying to find this awkward engagement. They're trying to move in. They have to reveal their back to somebody, drop shield and go for the pistol play. I9 cannot find a clear entrance, and they're just executed. Blind. A little bit deaf, a little bit eyes covered here. Fury on the wrong end of a flawless half.
I just want to give some credit to Psycho for that shot there. Underneath the keeper barrier, which was a pixel, underneath the bottom of the shield into the head of an opponent. Were they prone behind it? Must have been at that point, because there's no way that that shot can elevate that much from that angle. But that was like some precision shot going through right there. 6-0 NIP. Fury, what do you have left in the tank?
I mean, you have to sort of use that round to show how horrible some of these operators are to go against. You're thinking of Monty, right? There is, if you were to list all the attackers, the one that should have the best confidence at entering and approaching a firefight.
Yeah, it should be a Monty.
Should be a Monty. The goo mines, you know, those were pinged out. It's actually destroyed by an impact. So he got a little bit of a bonus there. But then he steps in and he can't see anything because of the F-dot mines. He can't get rid of that because of how it's stoked. Because to get rid of it, you have to, you know, unless you've got the utility to bounce around the corner or steal it, you've got to turn around and shoot it out. So, okay, well, what's your other option? Well, maybe you could push... Oh, no, you can't push down the staircase because, well, there's a keeper barricade. They've created their own structure where they can still see through the pixel and get insane shots.
It's not just that. You also put your back to, like, one of the doors, right? You either put your back towards the back stairs as you move up to it.
Yeah.
So you can be protected from T. Or
horrifying.
You put your back towards T so you can be protected from back stairs. There's no way in.
So then it becomes, well, do we try and force this approach or do we go elsewhere?
Yeah.
They tried to force the approach and unfortunately they just couldn't. It was not just one brick wall they're up against, but
there's a couple of them.
A couple and a goo mine and a blind
and a psycho.
And a psycho and everything. NIP, they need one round to push themselves through and win their first upper bracket game and keep themselves going and push Fury down to the lower bracket. One round separates Brazil, again, from winning their first upper bracket game against a different region here, and one round replicates NIP's run from when they won the Hammer back in 2021 all the way across the upper bracket, and breaks them apart from 2022 where they were knocked down by PSM, eventual champs, and MIB up.
It always feels a bit less worse, right? If you get knocked out by the eventual champions. But
it's nice.
It's better than, you know, a team that knocks out right after you. But again, that single round is what they're looking for. The Zelda canister destroyed allows the Selma to open up. You see that there's a bit pressure on Tapino. He's opening up the skeleton key just to make things a bit more awkward for both these parties. And whilst Dark is trying to find himself in an engagement, he has to keep a barrier that basically locks off both these vertical angles. But in the meantime, you've seen Buck already rotate through. Pino went underneath his line of sight towards the barbecue area of that map, so he can start opening up here now as well. So they're eyeing up to go for a quick plant, it seems like, especially with the Buck opening up underneath, causing some pressure and some distraction.
I mean, I said it before, when you have the opportunity to start doing fun little different plays is when you have a lot of rounds between you and them, especially when you're this close to knocking it over the sides. The quick plant plays, the runs, the roams, the takes with a little bit of snap where things are a little bit more risky. Perfect time. You get to sort of taste test them against a team that really cannot make a single mistake. There's a bit of one. Then the back to Crit J, who punished the first. Suffered a bit of a scrape on the second as Psycho wins out against I9. Pushing the pressure of the Ying gets some control there now. Posting and putting the pressure. Love that. Yeah. Little bounce to roll in towards the door. They roll in behind it. Cons does go down, but now they're inside the site with some of the cover. They might not know just how deep Psycho is. They have no idea. There's one. Looks for the second, but nobody's on the stairs. Not rewarded. They'd pull back. Double down on Drama. Technical 3 versus 3 at this point, but Cons is picked back up by the Finker boost and shot back down by BG Man. spawn a bit.
Have recovered their diffuser.
Now with Wizard trying to find a place to plant, you assume the Solus will get the lockdown here. He's tucked all the way onto the far corner.
No.
They have the reveal. There it is. There's the call. There's the read. There's the break. There's the impact. Grit J finds the success. We remember once upon a time there was a round where they had a pulse underneath with an explosive. Couldn't make it work. Solus this time finds it.
It was almost that they didn't find it, though. Like, yeah, there was almost enough time to get yourself away from that position, but at that same time, you don't know where these remaining defenders are, so moving could have just as well gotten you killed in that situation. Fury hold on for at least a round and not going to receive a 7-0 on their side of things, and Psycho made some incredible moves, just wasn't aware there was no one on the main stairs.
Pokeball.
Yep. Gotta catch them all.
5 rounds. 5 rounds separate them now, and the fact that their first defensive round is the only round that a diffuser's gone down this whole game
Bombs from being defused by attackers.
is a bit of a worry. If you're looking at them from the statistics side of things, that NIP have opened with a very strong objective play. They had the run of the site at one point. They might have even been able to, you know, change things up a little bit. I don't think they expect to be rewarded, which is a compliment to Fury's motions to pull themselves back, realize, okay, we don't have enough to hold off the stress here. You could see that, obviously, on Psycho's push, he got all the way in, got the 1 kill, but then when he looked for the second where he expected it, nobody was there. And then he dies from the side. He dies from the thread. So that's a compliment to the motions of Fury. Yep. Looks like, I'm assuming based on this, that we're going to have... Yeah, there it is. Tech pause. And a moment to breathe.
Yeah, of course, players cannot communicate with one another during this time. It's just fixing the issue, and then we get back into it. But it is a moment where you basically take NIP out of their momentum slightly. The 6 rounds in a row on defense, they managed to find almost the round on the attack. Sure, they lost it, but they're still the ones in the driver's seat right now. And it's really going to be up to Fury to try and turn that around. In that last round, it was just enough. It needs to be more convincing if they want to find themselves back in. Sure, you can have 6 rounds that go like this, very scrappy, back to 1v1s, 1v2s. You can bring it back like that, but that's too risky. That's just going to be like keeping you so hyper-focused during the entire time that just a small slip-up could mean the end of that game.
Do you know what I've noticed?
What do you notice?
The music on B is different to the music on A.
Oh, is it?
I think so. The music on B is very like this, like... It's like very like... You can imagine Ryan Gosling Drive.
Is this
okay,
the
this
lo-fi
one not.
playlist? This one might be.
This might be the lo-fi.
Yeah. This is definitely in
and
the
then you go to A
this
stream, where it has things like the Duck video at the end of the day. The Duck has a name, by the way. It's BT Junior.
BT Junior?
Yeah, BT Junior. And it's like a... and it's very much like a...
It's a trip you take.
It's a trip. It's like, imagine going from like one club to another, and one of them's like samba and upbeat, and then the other one is like that club that
imagine
Batman
that, like,
enters.
for the people that for the first time come in, it's like they've always heard about like the incredible Six Invitational theme, and they start listening. It's like the Duck song comes on. I like it, by the way, but people are gonna be like, "What the hell's going on?"
There's the admin getting things sorted.
Seems like a headset issue.
I've just been asked by production if I'd like the Duck song.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Can we have a little bit of it?
Here it comes.
Here it comes. Maybe we've been trolled.
Maybe we have been.
There it is. This plays at the end of every day if you're unaware. You do feel like you're going a little insane. I remember the first time it came on and none of us knew.
No, and we were like, it grows on you, don't worry.
I mean, imagine an animated duck for this video. Do you think they'll get a real duck for the live stage?
Production, if you're listening, you gotta do it now. Gotta have a duck dancing to
get
this.
A real duck. Do you know what I have seen?
What have you seen?
That I need to go and get, probably before we actually do. I'm gonna try and find it before our game later on the A stream. You can fade out the duck song now.
That's fine. Keep going.
Oh, okay. Thank you. There is a little monkey on the
really?
player manager's team
Uh-huh.
that has a little Blast player manager T-shirt.
Is it an actual monkey?
No.
Oh, okay.
That would be
I was gonna
cruel.
say, it's like, what?
That would be cruel to have a little monkey work.
Yeah.
Unless they're being paid and they can consent to the work, then that's fine. No, there is a little stuffed toy monkey, but it has a little version of the T-shirt that they're all wearing.
Very nice.
And I saw it at breakfast, and I said, I need to get them on the stream. They have a name as well.
Really?
I don't remember the name, and I don't want to accidentally call them
What
the
team
wrong
do
name.
they manage?
I can't remember.
Oh.
No, they don't manage any team. I do remember, because I asked. They're an intern.
Oh.
They're learning how to be a player
Okay,
manager.
good to know. Good to know.
Again, I sound crazy right now, but crazy is as crazy does. Crazy goes back into Skyscraper. We are back 6-1. If you missed it, NIP, they are one round away from securing their fight in the upper bracket. Hey, Hap.
Yes.
Who would they go against?
Oh, let me just quickly check. Not the game we're casting, that I know.
It's not. There's a little bit of a jumbling round. We're all sort of picking up each other's follow-throughs on stories.
Just quickly refresh as we are.
If I
all
do
the
the
way
duck
down.
song.
VP.
VP would go up against NIP.
Attackers
Should be
need
fun.
to locate
And then
and defuse
obviously
bombs.
the loser of this
Goes to Bliss.
goes against Bliss. So Fury versus
Which we do
Bliss,
tomorrow.
which we do. We do get the follow-on on this side.
Yeah.
Fury have a lot of work to do if they want to try and get themselves back into this. If you somehow missed most of this game, they have been pretty disconnected from it. They've really struggled to play against just the team play that NIP has brought and delivered. It's going to take a couple of outstanding moments, but with how things have gone on this map, you do wonder if they just sort of reached the stress and the stretch of the second, because they were, what, one round away from overtime, almost pulled it back, a couple of near misses as well throughout that game. It probably should have been at least overtime based on one of the rounds that went away from them.
Yeah.
However, coulda, woulda, shoulda, didn't it? NIP. They just need to cement one plant here. They played a very quick game last round. This time with the Monty, with the sort of classic breaches, the pull away with the IQ. I think they're just going to sort of heads down, focus on that objective, and push this game into its sort of natural end right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. If they manage to get that plan down and still have quite some numbers advantage, the first Nitro Cell gets tossed out the window. A slight amount of damage done to Psycho, nothing really to worry about. Impact coming in from underneath, and sure, there's going to be a Tubarao on it right now. Well, Cons might actually still be able to find a way around it. Oh, no, there's the bandit wire to come up. He sees it be electrified any moment now. He's asking for another impact to come through. As he's firing it, it's going to be a Nitro Cell that flies out, so keep that in mind. But there's still going to be the Tubarao on the board, so they can do this. They can repeat this for as long as they want, really, until there's no impact stuff, which is after the next shot. Well, they've rotated off, so Cons is not actually going to be opening up. I think they've decided that Tubarao is going to be too much of a nuisance, so we'll go for a different approach.
It's fair enough, really, because you think if they're going to dedicate so much utility there, you've still got a lot of other work to get done. Pino, caught between pretty dangerous approach here. There's obviously the player that can shoot through the soft. You can see the bullet markings mean that they've already done that. Like Colas is tempted to go for the swing, but at this point, you kind of want Fury to sit back a little. You know, it's a dangerous exchange. Your ones have generally been going away from you. Pino's on the back end. Crit J wants to follow through. They've otherwise rotated on and towards the window. There it is.
Good read.
J just knew where Pino wanted to go. Very, very well played there.
So please play that on contact and don't just go for the single swings onto Pino. But the Psycho now dropped as well by I9. Right behind him. You saw Montaigne walk, Tom's walk, and he's like turning around. He's like, where did you just die from? It's like that. There was no one here. We just checked that. From a long angle on the actual side. And as Grid J finds himself injured right now, not quite sure where that came from. It's an effective 4v3 situation in favor of Fury. We mentioned it. They need to be more confident and more convincing on their defensive round wins if they want to find themselves with an opportunity to come back into this game and push this overtime. If this is coming back to 1v2s the entire time, at some point it is going to be falling NIP's way.
I'm not entirely sure how Crit J went down or if NIP are aware, because that's the trade-off here. If they're concerned, good cover on the breach, if they're concerned that there's a Solace underneath, they'll probably approach this in a very slightly different way. Crit J is staying down. They haven't gone for the pick back up. The rotate comes around. The breach finally goes off on the opposite end. Slipped right into the front of I9. He's trying to find the fight, but it's a team kill. Muzi does get the end of one, and Wizard somehow gets it as well. However, alone, trying to find his way from the side of the site. No dice. 6-2. Fury did enough to slow down NIP's approach.
Right after the technical as well that we had. So, you know, NIP slightly out of focus at this point, slightly out of the momentum that they were building up. Fury now with a good response just in time as they find themselves with a pretty convincing round. They've managed to catch 2 players off guard who weren't aware of the locations of the fact that they were being chased, first of all. And afterwards, good stall onto the window. Something that we saw on the very first map when they continued to stall the attack and made sure that they couldn't really get in. Also, J, perfect map knowledge and just game sense right there. Realizing that, okay, fall off. Probably he's going to be trying to get himself into the bedroom to open up vertically onto the site. 2-6. 4 more rounds is what Fury needs to push this towards an overtime situation. As NIP just looking for that final one to lock it off and push on their journey on the upper bracket.
It would not be the first reverse flawless sweep we've had. We almost had a few. We probably have, actually. I haven't been able to look at every single map, but I know that I've at least cast one.
Was that with me?
No.
No, I was going to say I haven't done that, so it's like...
It was when we were juggling
Splitting,
casters, looking after...
Oh, was that the Liquid game?
Yes? I don't know
who they were up against anymore, but I remember they were like down 0-7 and then they
yeah,
came back,
oh yeah,
so.
yeah, it was all the way, and we almost had it twice in a row. We almost had 3 technical 6-0 halves in a row, because it was 0-6, 6-6 overtime, and then it was 5 rounds, and it just became 5-1. It was almost all the way. Crit J tried to find the pinch on the player. Still has 2 canisters in pocket to deploy. I'm wondering if that's just a late sort of hold thing, or if maybe he'll sort of say, well, they're not pushing me, I'll put this on this soft and then leave so they get slowed down a bit.
That might be it. It might also be like wait until you know what the actual direction is they're coming from. If there's a lot coming in from the house area, you're going to be placing those canisters to that side, of course. Otherwise, you might be moving them on the barricades, as you said, just to slow down a potential push to come through. Argus is going to be used to spot down and realize that it's going to be clear to move through. Barricades to be opened up. They have at least one of those pop. He still has 2 in pocket, so
just in case.
Must be in case.
For a rainy day.
In case of emergency. Break the canister.
Yeah, so we have some C4s. They might, you know, you're trying to waste the vertical time as much as possible. So they need that control, as you can see them taking it. Hope to get a C4 bite, and then maybe even try and push back up because, well, it's just all soft. You get every single watch at an angle. You need to try and cement a pocket of safety here. Seems like they want to just try and tap that kitchen plant on this side instead of going for the karaoke side. However, without a single pick from Fury as of yet, NIP's Execute is going to have to start to, I guess, formulate a lot of these castles again, wasting time in the width on the angles. Smart.
Just, you know, running down the hit points there with the thing. You know, you got to keep moving because otherwise you're just losing the fire out there. So draw a little bit
Easy.
on the. Oh, there's someone on the main stairs that could be watching him dark. Not currently, but makes any noise. It should be, as Peanut does go into DBNO state first. Not technically an opening kill. That will go to NIP though.
Brit J gone dark. Suddenly half health on the staircase, and Muzi's in that explosive position, but it's Cons that goes. BG Man flashed, but not entirely blinded and out. Psycho sitting and waiting, 30 seconds, and well, a quick last second rotate here, NIP. As I said, they're eyeing up kitchen. Now it seems like they're going to have to just strong arm it. Great angle. BG Man ready and waiting. Whether the intel was there for that push or take, either way, Wizard gets an awkward bite back in, but Psycho won and then traded out instantly. I9 in the position to start to close down against it. Wizard, without vertical, they're going to have to try and hope the cover is good, but you can see the 2 Fury players have rotated. That was from top to bottom. Gets the kit, and, well, not much you can really do here. 3 in a row for Fury, the perfect rotation.
Perfect rotation coming through, as you just mentioned. And they need to do this again. There's no other option. They cannot afford to have a little bit of a slip up now, because that would mean the end. And a kick down towards the lower bracket. 3-6. Can they complete it again, though? As Karaoke most likely will be up next. Doubt that we're going to be seeing the master and bathroom site.
To locate and defuse as many bombs as they can.
I mean, 6-3 looks a lot less scary than 6-0.
Yeah.
It is, as I said, not the first flawless defense half we would have. Not even, you know, obviously to get a flawless, you have to go against a flawless. It's the nature of being the second half to do it, but it's worked well for defense. You look at it now and you think if this round goes away from NIP, the timeout will be called. You have to talk about things. You have to stop the momentum. Cons picking up the Ossa. Last time we were here, it was a very quick push. There was a Ying looking for a fight, and nobody was home.
5 seconds
And the
left.
advantage NIP has is that they can choose any site for like basically the entire half, right? Because normally when you win, it gets locked off for like 2 rounds, and then you can play it on the third again. But you know, considering the fact that you only need 1, they can just go wherever they want. And they just need to hope that it sticks. Actually, no, it's Fury playing it.
Yeah, I was wondering where you were going with that.
They need to continue.
Fury have to choose.
They need to continue their rotation and make sure they stay flawless.
NIP could win anywhere.
They could win anywhere, so they just have to continue, well, not really putting their heads against the wall, but it is coming down to that because they have been getting quite close.
It also just takes one mistake from Fury.
Yeah.
They're a team that can be confident, but confidence is something that gets punished time and time and time again. In this, obviously, if they get the read on where this player is and they get a position in place to attack them and pull it out, it's very dangerous. There's not many escape routes, especially if you don't have any control of the stair set, because that's your only real rotate out. There's the ping on the player. There's drones to stop it, and the deploy of the Ossa Talent Shield will give enough of a warning for them to get out before it becomes too dangerous. Remember, Ossa does have grenades now.
Yep. Using the EMPs though, so it's gonna bring that to the table. Might actually be useful if you want to go for a push in the FNAT on the door. You've seen how dangerous that can be. Use the
bottom
EMP
of black.
impacts.
Here's the fight.
Yeah,
The
trying to
bot
push up.
charges up. I9 goes down, caught out. They're getting some control here over the top of the stair set itself, and suddenly the calls will start to come around. Okay, we're losing a bit of the eyes. On towards the side and the pressure. They're stacking up. Oh, that didn't quite land where they wanted it to. I don't think it will be a bit more coverage on it. There it is. Pull it back in. The bot. It's going to make things a bit scary. 2 players stacked up on the main stairs, ready to swing around. They're blinded, but they're not able to get it. The Ossa gets the deploy. They're getting the default wall open. They're just going to see if they can try and sneak this in underneath the breach itself. They're concerned about an impact, but there is the deploy. There's Dark, though. Drops around, get Muzi. Pino gets Lycolis in the meantime. The play against it doesn't stop the air jab, and Dark does get stopped by Pino. They're going for the plant. They feel safe and secure. BG Man suffers a bit. They're watching from underneath. Do they know they're going a bit wide for the fight? They're crouched, and there it is, but it's locked out. It's all down to BG Man for the hopes at winning this engagement. He's been standout and stellar in some of the previous maps, but against the peaceful trees, only finding chaos. NIP break the problems Brazil has been having today and finally show, okay, this region is here to play at home. They move along the upper brackets. Fury, their story isn't done yet. They will drop down to a lower bracket showdown tomorrow. But great fight back in here by the ninjas in pajamas.
For sure, and you know, this map looked a lot more like a lot of people would expect from NIP for them to perform. They were flawless on their defense half. They managed to just find that single attack as they punished a mistake to come through. But they have to play later today, and there has been some mistakes that they made in the previous 2 maps that they do need to address before they're getting back into that game, because they're up against Virtus Pro, who have played an incredible tournament so far as well.
They have, obviously, they got the bye, but that's the sort of stress here on these teams. They do find themselves moving on. You're not going back to back. You've got a bit of time, get your breath, get your lunch in, get yourself ready for a showdown. Virtus Pro, they would have been watching this whole thing. They might have been thinking, this is how we beat them on this. This is the mistakes that were made. They've seen them bleed today as well. It's not that it was a short series. This last map has been the shortest of them all. But the other 2, you know, it was almost these long overtime slogs across the first full stretch. They were really tested and tried, and that's exhausting. And then you sort of have to reset and go, okay, now we go again. And now statistically, we go against a better, stronger team.
Yeah.
How do you step in?
Again, this is the age-old question, right? Is it going to be beneficial for you to have like the 2 to 3 hour break right now? Or would you rather prefer like to go right into that game?
Yep.
Because of the fact that you're warmed up now, you find your groove, you know what to do. You might just fall out of that right now in that break. But, you know, that's up to those players. Everybody has a preference. And NIP, of course, 3 of them have lifted that hammer before. They're used to these kind of days.
It's a long day. It's a long old day. And, I mean, a quick finish there. Wizard, 12-3, 3-0 on the entry. We cited similar numbers at the start of this tournament, and then unfortunately he could not quite find the landing. What a great moment to start to get back into the game sense, the play that he can put together, really fantastic, and then build on the rest of the team themselves. Fury, unfortunately, lacked a little bit of the fangs they'd shown to get themselves the 2nd seed. They will drop down. And yeah, you're sort of curious about the NIP game as well. There's a lot of similarities between those 2 teams, but Fury up against Bliss, I believe, tomorrow now.
Yep.
We talk about sort of that region showdowns and histories. It's not going to be easy.
It's not going to be easy, and one of them will have to go home tomorrow, that is. So they have the time to prepare. Fury. NIP, however, will have to, well, just go for that quick break. Wizard, 32 kills, 17 deaths. He's been absolutely phenomenal throughout this series, and really maybe even a deciding factor together with Muzi, who's also been 30 on 22, to make sure that NIP could drag it across the finish line, first of all on Consulate.
The game that we saw as well from Fury on the first map on Chalet, it felt very different to the one we saw on that last one, whether it was exhaustion, whether it was just knowledge of the map itself, the confidence, because remember, that wasn't their map. That was the one that NIP wanted to bring and wanted to fight on. Whether it was just, again, the sort of day getting to them, they could not match their original play. Here is the bracket. We now have all of our showdowns on the second half of the day. One of them has begun, I believe, on the other stream, because we've had a little bit more mappage here. We also have in the bottom left, those are the games that are our lead-in tomorrow. A taste of things to come. But Brazil, you get one more team staying in the upper bracket for now.
I mean, that is going to be at least, you know, a little bit of a relief. For NIP, first of all, because they are currently together with FaZe, the top-performing teams, as they are still in the upper bracket. But also for the fans who are traveling from all over Brazil to come to the SI, to like the arena to see their teams perform and potentially lift the hammer.
Well, before we go, we have an Intel highlight for you and then a break. We'll be back with the next game of the day.